All right, so basically, I'm this whole file. I'm going to start off from like the base layer because that's the easiest way to explain it. But I guess I could start with the UVs. So I'm using UDIMs here, which is just I'm using a few different tiles. So basically, I have a lot more texture resolution to work with, which is nice when you have like an asset that you want to be really high resolution. So this one I wanted to have like close-ups of it, so I'm using UDIMs here, and depending on what engine you're using, you may or may not have them. But most of them should have UDIMs now. It's pretty important that they have them because it's like used in VFX all the time. So I set that up with UDIMs, and as far as baking goes, it's pretty much. I think they're all just 4K bakes. Here, let me check my mesh maps. So the normal. Oh yeah, because this is actually a weird mesh. Like normally I'd have a high poly and like a low poly, right? But in this one I just have a high poly, which is my low poly as well, because there's not really anything I need besides if I did like some sculpting details, I could throw that in there. But I didn't do that for this one. I was just like, I'll just have the low poly, which is fine. So yeah. And then I have my bake settings. So it's pretty standard. I keep everything mostly the way it is. I don't change any of the cage distance, because usually this stuff is fine unless you have like weird size meshes, and I always try to keep everything to be like the real world size. Anti-aliasing.
Your window open, I can't see it.
Oh, I do?
No, I'm saying if you do have one.
Oh.
Look, you're pointing in the middle of the screen. I thought there was a window open up there. I don't see it though.
Oh, okay. Can you see this then?
I don't see any windows. No, I just see the controller.
Oh, that's weird. Wait.
Try sharing your screen and.
Yeah, I'm definitely sharing. Oh, I'm sharing the software. You're right.
Yeah, sharing the screen is just easier.
All right. How do I do that? What the heck? Change windows. It's not even popping up. Let me try this.
I haven't used this software in a while, but why do you need to bake before you do texturing?
Here, one sec. Sorry.
Like, I forgot what there is to bake. I know you can bake a high poly and low poly version again.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. So, is that better? All right.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So, you bake because if you have, so for instance, the curvature. Let me go. Actually, I'll just go to my bake results so you can see them. So here's what the curvature looks like, which gives you a lot of mesh information. So it gives you edges, it gives you crevices, it gives you ambient occlusion, right? So you can use all these in your masks, so you can basically create kind of like advanced masking, like procedural masking based on where crevices are. So like dirt, typically forms in like a crevice, so you can use all that information later on. So I'll go over how that works, but yeah, so the bakes are important. You usually always want to have these as much as you can. Thickness I don't use unless you have like, you can use it for some tricks, but like I don't know, subsurface scattering or something, but typically you won't really need this, and I mean in a lot of assets. So all right, so I'm gonna try not to talk too fast because I get tired, like my voice gets tired. It's hard.
You lay out all of those maps you just mentioned like before you import this to Painter?
No, you import it to Painter, and then once you do your bakes, so I'll just do a quick.
Oh, you bake it and that gets the maps.
Yep, exactly. So,
that's cool.
And if you have a high poly, so for instance, if you have like a really dense sculpted version of this, and you don't want to throw it into here because it'll lag the program. Like you can see how many polys there are here. It's not very high. Yeah. It's not like super high, but like if you had I don't know, say you have a sculpt that has like 60 million polys, you obviously can't use that in this program, right? So you can use that to essentially get all those details, like the texturing details, onto this low poly object, and then use those details as your masks. So, which is really useful. But all right, so basically what I do is I always set up the product in Max as well. I'll load the Max thing real quick because, well, I mean, or Blender or whatever you use, but I use Max, so I guess that makes sense. But I always set it up in Max right when I start, because then I can like export and go to see the final render, because your textures are gonna look different, and they should. So a lot of people see their textures in Painter and they're like, oh, it looks great here, and then they export it and they're like, oh, it looks worse. They shouldn't look worse. They should look better. But the idea is that if you know exactly how it works, it should work. It should look better. But sometimes import settings might be messed up, like the way your textures are imported. So it's important to get that right from the beginning, because then you're texturing and then you export it and you're like, oh, it looks worse. Like, what am I doing? So you always want to make sure that's not happening.
Wait, why are there already textures on the controller? You haven't done any texture work yet.
Oh, I have. Sorry, I have, but I turned off all the layers because this is gonna take. So this is in 4K, and basically, if you turn everything off, then it computes faster. If you turn on one layer, so if I turn off one layer in between, then it has to recalculate everything above it.
Oh.
And
okay.
so basically, I'm just gonna start from the bottom up. That way, I can build it up slowly. That way, it makes more sense to explain it. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
I'm sure I'll figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, another thing is I don't have the chord in here, because the chord I'm going to texture that procedurally, because I want to be able to move the unwrap it or unfold it, I should say. Move it around. So anyway, here's my setup in Max. There's nothing special here. It's just this is the important stuff is that this is quite literally just I'm using Redshift, but I'm just literally plugging in stuff. And the important thing is you have the texture space right. Your colors should be sRGB, and your roughness should be linear. So here's one. I'm using these are ignore the rotation and anisotropy and stuff. But yeah, metalness should be linear. So basically everything's linear except for your diffuse color. And that's how you can get like an even match between the programs. And then you have to set up your bump mapping. Like your bump mapping the intensity of your bump will look different in Painter, depending on like how you set things up in your program. So it's important to keep those consistent, because otherwise you're going to be texturing and then trying to refigure stuff out later. So all right, so so I guess I'll start with the very base. So the first thing that I do when I texture something, so I'll load up a picture of a GameCube controller, because I have my physical GameCube controller here with me, but I don't have like a reference image, to share. That would be helpful. Okay, here's a good one. So the first thing to do when you're texturing is you want to actually look at the object, and if you have the physical object, it's just so much better. But obviously you can't have everything. Like you can't just have a building that you're so you can't just take a building home, but you can take a picture of it, find a bunch of pictures. So the most important stuff you can get from an image or from like a texture is, if you look at the specular highlight, then you can see a lot about the detail of like how the object is constructed and what kind of material it's made out of, and how to reconstruct that. So like for instance, the most two important things that you're going to learn are, one, you need to learn how to see something, and then two, you need to learn how to actually reconstruct what you're seeing. And those are the hardest things, because you can see this and you can say it's bumpy, right? But then how do you translate that bumpiness into the 3D world? That's the hard part, right? But also, if you see this normal, like, okay, the normal person could see this, a non-artist could see it, like a non-3D artist could see this and say, okay, it's bumpy, right? But a 3D artist would see this and say, okay, what's contributing to that bumpiness? Is it the pockets in it? Are there little pockets? Is it a paint, like a reflective coating? Is it a, I don't know, is it like a roughness? It could be a lot of things, right? So knowing that this is a plastic material and this is like, it looks like a powder coated plastic is kind of what I'm assuming. Looking at, let me grab my controller. Yeah, see, it looks like a powder coated plastic to me. I don't know what else it would be, obviously. So that's kind of the assumption I'm making here. So the first layer that I have is, oh, I see what I did. So when I'm making stuff, the hard part about explaining is that I'll go through and like stick layers underneath as I'm making things, and you know what I mean? Like it makes sense in the moment, but then if you're trying to explain it later, it's kind of hard to do. So hopefully I'll start from the beginning here. And it takes a little bit to calculate these layers, so that'll give me some time to like think and talk about it.
Yeah, I can tell things can get messy real.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so keeping things named is really important, and I try my best to name things.
I can tell you that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, always very important. The hard part is that even when you keep things named properly, sometimes you run into an error where you're like, what do I call this? This is the same thing as that other thing, but it's slightly different, right?
Yeah.
So I try my best to like make them make sense.
Yeah, it looks like you already have this stuff textured.
Yep, it's all done. It's just I turned off all the channels so that I could explain each channel one by one.
Oh, you're just gonna explain how.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
All right, so I guess I could start with this reusable mask portion. So this button A, B, X, Y, Z, I'll talk about later because this is, I just put this underneath the rest of them. It's not really important where it is. So the reusable mask thing is very cool because you can essentially take a mask if you're going to use something a lot. Like for here, I wanted to have this. See, it takes a while to load. I wanted to have this this mask for the start and the pause button, and I wanted to reuse it. Or I don't know if I actually ended up reusing this, but essentially what you're doing. Do you know how anchor points work?
Nope.
Okay, so basically what you can do is you set up a you can set up like a mask right here, like it starts with the fill. Here, one sec. This is gonna take a little bit.
Yeah, it's still loading.
Yeah. So this is just I think it's just a blank. Yeah, blank layer. And then okay, so I wanted to use this mask for this area, right? So what I did was I set up this mask here, and I wanted to use I wanted like a few layers so that I could single out this tiny little portion, right? And then I put an anchor point which basically like collects everything below it, and then I can use a fill layer that links to that anchor point in the future. So basically if I put this stack at the bottom and I turn off all these, I'm just creating these little masks that I can reuse anywhere I want. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, so like say if I wanted to, I create a fill layer here. I don't even know if I did anything there. Yeah, so if I create a fill layer here, then I can go right here, or not here. Here, and I go to my anchor points, and then I say, oh, here, there's a mask here. I click that.
Oh, so you basically just make a preset.
Yep, exactly. So you're just grabbing it there, and for some reason, nothing's happening here. Probably because this is a mask and this is not a color, but you get the idea. So, yeah, so I have a few masks here. I have this hair mask that I'm using. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to turn it down to 2048.
Are you actually putting hair on it? Or...
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Oh, this is a noise mag, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is basically, I had a hair layer. I had a hair mask. See how many... I have a lot of these because, look, one of these is like... I wish there was a way to single out one of these layers. There's not.
Just got different layers all over.
Yeah, basically, this is all one texture that I I overlaid like 50 times because I wanted to build up the hair a lot, but I didn't want to do this on every single layer, like recreate this whole mask. So what I did was I laid it all out, and then I actually have 2 levels of hair buildup here, which is kind of fun. So I'll do that. I'll show you that real quick. So how this works is this is one mask, right? It's all these combined. So you can see here's one layer, right? It's really like there's hair, but it's not a lot, right? So then I overlay it, I rotate it, I overlay it, I rotate it like 8 times to get this. Levels adjust it so that you can get a little bit more extreme hair, and then put an anchor point because you can use anchor points in its own mask, which is really useful, and I use it all the time. So the way it works is you're not, so when I'm working on it, I'm not thinking about this. I'm like, I don't think, I need an anchor point here or here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm like, I build up this mask here, and then I'm like, okay, now I need to snapshot this because I want to use this. I want to use all these layers as a group. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to use all these layers as a group, and so then, but I want to start from scratch. So then I say, okay, well, I'll start from scratch for a new one, right? So you see how this is nothing? So then I have a second one, and I'm like, okay, so now I have two different masks. Then what I do is I take another, so then I multiply in that previous anchor point, see that? So now I'm literally taking this and multiplying it by these layers again. So now I'm basically just doubling it and then putting another anchor point. So now I have an anchor point where it's less hair and an anchor point where there's more hair. So that can be useful because here I'll explain why I use it later. But
It's pretty detailed, right?
yeah. And it helps a lot. So this one, hair buildup 2. Don't remember what this was for, but it clearly was a thing that I used it for. So use for something. This one, so this was I use this as a multiplier for the hair because I didn't want the hair to sit on the sides of the walls or of the sides of the controller. I wanted to just be on the top, right? So it was like collecting in this area right here, and I didn't like that. So I use this as a mask, and you can use a basic like world space like this, right? And that works just fine if you want, but I like to try and give some breakup to the edges. So I basically was throwing in textures here and multiplying them in ways until I got the result I wanted, which ended up being something like this. World space is basically it's a map that defines it's kind of like a triplanar map in a way. It defines the top versus the sides, so you can mask out something that's only on the top versus something that's only on the sides of an object. And it should be in your bakes. So when you look at the world space map, it won't make the green is the top, right? Blue is this axis, red is this axis.
Looks like a funky normal, man.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a world space normal essentially. Well, actually, I shouldn't say essentially. It is quite literally if you look at it. So yeah.
That normal map has to do with like lighting or something.
You can use it for lighting. You can actually use it to fake sun bleaching on the top. You can use it to fake like dirt buildup on the bottom of something. It depends on what you want. But it's basically just a map you can use for masking. It's pretty cool looking though, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then this mask I showed you. So these are just like I could have used this reusable mask section more, but I didn't find a lot of masks that I wanted to reuse, so I just, stuck to it. Any difference with world space as a black and white mask and the normal one used for lighting? I'm thinking. I don't think so. I think the difference. Oh, I see what you're saying. The world space here, it's colored. It's not a black and white mask, but basically I'm selecting the green channel so that it becomes black and white, if that makes sense. So I'm only taking this plane, like the top plane, so you can see everything that's green is like the top. So it should be the same. I think if I get your question right. I don't know if I got it right. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about, so the most important thing, like I said earlier, was, figuring out like the specular highlight. And for this one, I'll turn it to 4K just for a second because this is a very important layer to.
I was wondering how you were going to get that reflection on the handle.
Yep, this is a really important part to get right. And it'll look weird here, But then when you go and like if I basically export it at 8K, right? Even though this is a 4K, you can't work at 8K, but you can export at 8K, which will give you a little more detail. So this base plastic layer is just this, right? Very simple.
Yeah.
And then I use a matte finish filter, which is a powder coat filter, which is really nice. You can get some. It just affects the normal channel. It gives you those flakes, which is really cool. Yeah, and if you see the scale, you can look at it. You can change the scale to see it better. But I figured that these are really small. It's really fine, and so that highlight. See, we're starting to get that already. It's pretty like it's pretty blocky, but what'd you say? Sorry.
How did you get that lighting, like on that area of the handle specifically? Like, how did you do that?
Oh, it's just as a result of this filter, which is built in. So if you go to the filters under matte finish, see these?
Yeah.
So powder coated. This is the one I'm using right now, and if you drop that on there, just on your base.
The layer or whatever.
Yeah. Then turn it on normal only.
Okay.
I don't think it affects any other channel anyway. Let me see. Color, no. So, yeah, so anyway, so normal. And then if you go to, what's the fill? What did I do here? Oh, so here I have dirt. So here I have a height as well. So basically, yeah, the dot-based noise, I also have height as well because you can't, so it's annoying. You can't actually see the height channel because it's so subtle, you know? But, so I also noticed that when I'm looking at the controller, not only does it have that powder coat, but it also has the tiny little bumps.
Yeah, very subtle.
Yeah, it's so that I decided, oh, I'll throw in that there. So this is just a height map. So it's kind of hard to view. It's really like a small screen, but
I don't know, I can measure it out.
Cool, okay. So, yeah, it's just a height map. So a lot of like the fine tuning and stuff, like, the balance and all that stuff, that's like, stuff that takes a little bit of time, and the scale and all that. So basically I wanted this to be really fine and really subtle. And then a sharpen filter is amazing. I use this all the time. It basically pops things a lot. Here it's a little extreme, but it worked out when I exported it and I liked it, so I kept with it. But I might tune it down a little bit in the future. I'm not sure.
Yeah, still do.
Yeah, so like here I have a normal sharpen, which is at 2, and then I wanted a different intensity for the height sharpen, so I have that at 1. Because if I had it at 2, I think it was too sharp for me. Yeah, it's subtle, but. And then paint. I don't remember what this is for. Oh, I painted these buttons. See, because these have different colors. So I just threw in a paint layer to paint those. So now we have the basic plastic, which is, so we're not even close. Oh my god. All right, I'm like, I don't want to keep people here forever, but all right, cool. It might end up being a long time, but I can speed up the later parts as long as we get the concepts down in the earlier parts. So yeah, so that's the plastic base. So this stuff, I'm gonna skip over this for now because I added this stuff in later, and I thought it might be confusing to go over it now, because see, this is D-pad, this is D-pad. So I'll go over the hue variation. So this is a really cool filter that I use all the time. Do you know how pass-through layers work in Painter?
Nope.
Okay, so where am I? There's a lot going on here. So basically everything here is set to normal, right, for the channels. As a might be a dumb question, but do you know how the channels work in the layer settings? Like how if this is like the layer setting for this is layer setting for this, all that stuff?
I think so, actually, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you set it to pass through, basically what happens is it affects every layer below it. Like it works the same way as an anchor in a sense. So if I set, why is this at 0? Oh, okay, yeah. I don't remember what I remember what I did. So see, this is a pass through right here. It basically, the base color is set to pass through, which means that this filter that I applied on here See how this layer has everything turned off? It's not actually doing anything, but what it's doing is it's applying a filter as a pass-through to every layer below it. So basically I can just say, oh, every single base color, or everything below this on the base color will have a filter applied to it. And that's the only way you can do that on a new layer to affect layers below it.
What kind of filter do you have on it?
So this is a really cool one that I found. It's called, I don't remember where I got it. Let me see.
Hue variation?
Yeah. Yeah, right here. This is a really cool filter, and I use it all the time now because it's something that, so you know how when you take a picture of something you get like the weird artifacting where like this might be a tiny different hue than this, than this, than this.
It's color bleeding, right?
Yeah, and like you can see it here almost barely. Like this right here is like purplish, and this is blue, and this is like green. It's super subtle, but I find out that it helps to have that in your texture just because it gives a little bit of detail that you might not like. You might not see it. So anyway, I use this a lot, and you can see it here. Like it looks a little better than just a flat color, right? It adds a little bit.
Oh,
yeah. So I throw that on there as a pass through, and then I'm like, oh, cool, that's cool. So, you know, you can mess with. There's a texture in here. This hue variation controller. Basically, what I did was I wanted to have a. You need to use an image. So, here, let me throw in an image here, so you can see that this image is controlling the hue variation, right? But this filter unfortunately doesn't let you modify that image at all. Like you can't change the scale of it, which kind of sucks. So what I did was I decided, oh, you know, that doesn't really matter. What I'll do is I'll create a layer right here, and then I'll modify the image here as a color, as a mask, right? And then put an anchor on it. So you're basically just snapshotting this layer, turning it off, so you can still use turned off layers as anchor points, which is really cool. So I'm taking this snapshot and then using it right here, so you can see that this texture is the same as that texture. See? Yeah. So that's pretty helpful. So then I just call it controller because it's controlling this, and I'm keeping it off. This I adjusted it slightly because the hue variation kind of messed with the base color a little bit. See, it's like too pink. So here I'm just again a pass through with the filter, which hue, saturation, lightness, perceptive. It just, you know, you can change the, you know, that kind of stuff. So then this is an anchor that I use here to capture. I don't know what I captured. Oh, I don't know. We'll figure that out later. Basically, when you get to a later, like you're texturing a different layer and you're like, oh, I need to go back and create an anchor point, then you just go back and create an anchor point because you need like a mask from earlier that you used. So these logos, these ones, and you can't really tell right here, but I just have a ton of layers here because I had a mask here that I wasn't happy with. I had to like invert it 8 times, and I had 2 of them. It was just me trying to fudge around to get it to work. So you could do this all in one layer, like if you just did it in Photoshop, right, and just like pasted the image in. But I was lazy; I didn't want to do that, so I have, you know, I guess. Do you want to go over how this is done or not? It's up to you.
I'll pass.
Okay, yeah, because it's not anything exciting. It's just like me trying to figure out where the hell it goes. All right, so then I have this start, pause, soften. This is just to get this to be softer. And
oh yeah, I noticed that the little noise was in the letters there.
Yep.
Right. So,
yeah, exactly. So what I did was I painted this out. I turned these off. I don't know why these are still on, but and then all I did here was I decided to, so the normal, yeah, normally you'd be like, oh, I want it to be soft. So what you,
might cut out.
oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't know what that was.
So roughness, I wanted to basically reset the channels here, right? So if you go to normal, right, you need to reset the normal map. Normal is by default set to this NMDT, which is normal map detail whatever. So basically it just adds them together. But I wanted to replace it, so you set it to normal. It's really confusing. Normal just means nothing.
Okay.
And then height, I also set to, I think, normal or replace. Yeah, height. Oh, hey, Somnus. So basically, that's getting rid of that.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then manufacturing defects. So I don't know why I called it this. I didn't know what to call it. Let me see where that is. I don't even know what this is doing. Oh, this is a tiny bit of... I don't even know what I called it that. But, okay, oh, I see. So you can see this is normal.
Where is it affecting?
It's affecting... Here, let me see if you can see this. Okay, you can't see that. Nope. Did you see that right there? See that patch?
Yeah, I think I can make that out.
Basically, this is a tiny overall breakup because I thought this was way too flat. Like, look how flat this is, see?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then this is a matte finish filter that I threw on top. Again, pass through, right? Because then you can affect every layer below it. See, you can see now if it's way more intense, this is what it would look like.
Yeah, that's a little clearer now, yeah.
Yeah. So I use this as like a overall breakup to the whole material.
I don't know if it's a manufacturing defect, but...
Oh. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what the hell to call it, but... So I was like, I'll call it this...
Scuff marks?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, large-scale breakup is probably the more accurate name. I'm making that with a matte finish rough filter, which is under here, matte finish rough. And it's set... Oh, wait, where is it? Is it this one? Yeah, right here. And I just looked through these and I was like... So basically what I do is I just look through the filters and I'm like, this looks cool. I'll try that. And then if it's something that I like, then I'll do it again in a different project. So that helps for that kind of thing. Okay, so plastic edge damage. This is going to be tiny little scuffs around the corners.
Yeah, just bumps on the corners.
Yeah, so like this kind of stuff. It's pretty... I kept it pretty minimal.
Yeah, it looks like some pretty simple displacement.
Yeah. And Alan, it just works. You don't need to mask anything for this filter, the matte finish filter, but you can mask it if you want, if you just want to control it better. So yeah, this is a pretty... Yeah, you can see right there.
Yeah, nice detail.
I don't know what's going on here. Let's find out. Okay, these are little scratches. These are really subtle too.
Yeah, that's just a noise map.
Yeah. Or I think... Yeah, that's just a...
Very subtle. I can't even make it out.
Here, let me try and...
Yeah, it's like...
There's like an angle you can see them at, which is kind of cool. Yeah, right there. Very subtle. It doesn't really affect much. Might not be important.
It's really small.
Yeah. So, a lot of this is just building up tiny little layers that when you look at it, you'll be like, that's not much, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like, oh, okay. Eventually, things start to add up and make a difference. And I guess I'll go over something really quick. The important stuff to know here is that say you're making a scratch, right? You're like, how does the scratch affect this base material? So that's the important question you should ask, right? So if I'm adding a scratch to this plastic, I think to myself, all right, well, say you're scratching a plastic. There's a few ways the scratch could turn out. If I'm looking at my controller, there's scratches that are deep in the surface that kind of add dirt to it, right? And then there are scratches that are like surface level that kind of just cut off the plastic and don't really add much. They just kind of smooth it out. So this is what I thought was like a surface scratch, where all it really does is like flattens out that surface and adds a little bit of highlight if you're looking at it from a really specific angle that no one's ever going to notice or care about. So that's...
It's just a little thing.
Yeah. So like right there, see? That's that tiny little scratch. You can see it.
I can see it.
Yeah, there you go. And, oh, there we go. That's a way better one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't you show me that one?
I don't know why I was cut up on the other one. So, but that affects. So if I turn off the roughness, you can still see it, right? So basically, I figured, okay, well, if I scratch the surface, it's going to affect a few things. The normal, because there's that flake, right? So I replaced the normal with just a blank normal, because then it would be smooth. Does that make sense?
You talk about the scratch being smooth?
Yeah, like that surface. The area that's scratched. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the height.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, the height, of course, which you can't see, but if you remove it, you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the roughness, because adds a little bit. Okay, so I'll skip that layer. That layer's done. So base roughness. This is just a simple, throw it all on. I don't think it did anything. Oh yeah. So this is just a simple layer that I threw on. Let me see what's going on here. Why do I have this? I don't know. I'm not sure what I was doing here. But I ended up with a result that I liked, so I guess that's good enough for me. So one of the important things is to know when to mask stuff and when to do stuff in here, right? So it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to make something affect the whole surface, or if you're trying to make something affect in multiple channels, it's just easier to do it in a mask, right? Because then, say you want the roughness, the color, the height all on. If you put the texture in the color map, then it's only going to affect that color map. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then you'd have to put it in each one of these individually. But say if it's a scratch or something, the scratch is always going to have the same like mask, right? So then you just put it in the mask, and then you can change it that way. All right. This one's called crispy crevices, which is these corners that get really gross.
Oh yeah.
So this was a fun part. I don't even know what's going on here. It doesn't look like anything. What? Oh wait, no, I was wrong. I think I was wrong. No, this is this corner. See this? Crispy's not the right word at all. Yeah. These are smoothed out a little bit. It's pretty subtle. There we go. So it's just roughness. Yeah, roughness, normal, and height again, like the previous stuff that I was doing. Here, sorry, 1 second. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm not. Okay, cool. I was making sure that I wasn't filling up my hard drive with this video recording. Soft plastic. So this is just this specific area right here that I found was softer. So I just replaced it, the normal and the height. Nothing special. Worn edges. So how did I create which one? Oh, the soft plastic or the crevices? Oh, the crispy one. Yeah, I didn't explain that, did I?
You just paint like a height map around the circle, right?
Yeah. So, well, I used my mask editor. So this is a really nice.
Oh, it's a mask editor. Okay.
Yeah. So you go to your generators and you just type mask editor. Basically, it's like a smart mask, but it's a bare bones smart mask that has no textures put in for you, which I think is nice sometimes, because then you can just put in whatever you want. So
Okay.
I guess I can if I wanted to like show you how I recreate this from scratch, I'd say, okay, my whole goal here, the first thing to ask is, like, what's your goal? My goal is to isolate this specific area, right? So I need to find a mask that can do that. So I know that curvature will help me isolate that area. I know ambient occlusion will, but I'm going to try curvature first. So I drop in my mask editor. I go to curvature. I'll go. I want cavities, right? So that's closer to what I want. I want it to be really sharp. So I'm going to turn down these ones. So that's pretty good. And then what I can do is I can throw in a texture just to break it up a little bit, like that. I don't even. Oh, you can't see it because it's not turned on. So you have to turn on the texture, turn up the opacity, like that. So then now I have a basic mask, right? And then, so I took that, then I added an anchor. Okay, if I'm reworking this, I won't add the anchor now. I'll show you why I add the anchor later. So I take that and then I put in this intense whatever. Actually, no, I didn't do that. I added a blur slope filter and then a levels, and then I wanted to multiply it back in with the original. So I added an anchor here and then another one on top. And I think the reasoning for that, let me see. See how that, yeah, that just intensifies it. So I don't really know, now that I think about it, why I did that. So maybe that's a bad example. But anyway, you get this mask.
I get the gist.
Yeah, you get the idea. Basically, I'm just throwing layers on top of each other to affect each other in a way that I want. And there, it turns out to be the effect that I'm looking for. So soft plastic, and then, you know, like, obviously there's like artistic interpretation there where you could be like, oh, I don't like this, I'm just going to go back and change it to a different texture. But yeah. And then that's this thing. Okay, the worn edges. Let's see what that's doing. Oh, yeah, okay, this is a pretty important layer. So basically this is just changing the softness of the see this, the normal map. Near the edges, it gets a little smoother. Right there. See? So it gets softer near the edges. Oh, no worries, Alan. And then these are larger things right here. There's a, like right there, you know, a few things added back in. So like I could add these back in a previous layer if I wanted to be like, you know, responsible and all that, but I didn't feel like it. So anyway, so there's our base plastic layer, which is looking fine.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm happy with this. So now I wanted this to be gross, because I'm working on a project where I want this to look gross. I'll explain that later. But also there's a little UV error here, but no one needs to see that. So logos. This is just a mask for the GameCube logo. That's pretty much it. Yeah, nothing special. I have a mask here that I threw in, and then I wanted to put a texture on top of it to like kind of wear it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about this anchor point is that I created this GameCube mask, and then I wanted to multiply the texture back in, but I was like, where is it? When I did it originally, it didn't look the way I wanted. So what I did was I added this anchor point, and then I added this one here, and wait, where's this anchor point reference? Right here. So what I'm doing is I'm multiplying this back on top of the original, like of this texture, which kind of sounds weird, but if you work through it, it makes sense. And I linked this file in the Discord, so if you want to like mess around and see what I'm talking about better later, that's the thing you can do. All right, so, all right, we're getting somewhere. The grease, yeah. So this is a fun layer. This is probably the most complicated one, I think. So I'll try and be deliberate with it.
Not as simple as taking a grease brush and painting it all over
It can be, if you want it to be. But the fun part is that you can basically set up a complicated stack of layers and then use a paint layer in the middle of it and then paint over, and it'll calculate all those layers together and create a really cool effect. Yeah, substance files can be really big because they include all the texture you use. So if I use a bunch of different textures, it'll bake those all into the file, which is annoying. But
oh wow,
yeah,
dirt.
Yeah, so this is gross. But this is just the first layer of the grease, so I will talk about this. So first layer right here, all this does is, I'll keep it on 4K for now. All right, if I go to the mask here, this is like a really broad, greasy nastiness. Yeah, this is definitely clean. by melee player standards. All right. Okay. All right. So I'll just talk to myself then. So this grease layer, this base grease layer, is a very simple. I wanted this to be. This is loading slowly. All right. I wanted this to be like a very like soft, basic buildup of grease, and this base mask right here, I just select the edges with. Then I levels it to intensify it. And then this is an... Okay, so then I use another mask here, which is ambient occlusion, which I'm multiplying in. So because I looked at my controller and I realized the grease, when you see the grease build up, it builds up on these corners right here. But it doesn't build up in the center because your finger... I don't know why, but it's kind of gross. So... this ambient occlusion you multiply back in, see that, and then it removes the grease in the center, but it keeps it on those edges, which is nice. And then I used a custom paint mask right here to control it pretty heavily because I didn't want it to be everywhere. Like, this is really intense. I didn't want that. So I only wanted it in specific areas. Like, I think for this one I only included it around these corners. Yeah, so you can see this is a lot of heavy custom painting, which I try to avoid because it's easier to not do that. But here I needed to do it. So you can see now it only affects this area. It looks cool here, but it doesn't really, it's not the effect I'm looking for. And then I use the pass through right here, and then clone stamp to fix the seam, because look, there's a seam over here. So then I just fix that seam. And it's really important because without it, it's pretty ugly. So yeah, that's that basic grease layer. The buttons, these are a lot of fun. So the buttons, there's a seam. So there's not a seam on the UV. It's actually kind of weird. This is a seam on the curvature bake, which I blurred a lot. So if you blur a curvature bake, it gives you a seam where the UV is because it doesn't blur across the UV shells, which is really annoying. But oh my god, so this is going to be complicated. So let me know if you want me to slow down on this part, because this is like the most probably complicated part of this, is getting this right. So basically I wanted the grease on the buttons to be very deliberate, and I wanted it to make sense with how you use a controller. I probably could make it look better, but for now I think I was happy with it. So I created a separate layer, which is the exact same settings. The only thing, see, this is a very basic color. See, there's nothing interesting about this. It's just a gray or a brown color, a high roughness value, and then the normal just is like a flat normal. So there's nothing special about that. The important part is the mask. That's the special part. So starting from the beginning. Okay, so this basic grease mask, let me see. Oh, I don't even have it on. That makes sense. Okay. I named things in the paint layers because they got really confusing after a while and I didn't know what the heck was going on. So what I first wanted to do is I wanted to isolate the grease to be only on a very specific part. I wanted it to be right here in this top button corners, because I figured, okay, so say you're playing for a long time, you push your finger across the Y button when you're jumping, which goes up, right? So you build up grease on the top of the button, but you don't really build it up in the middle because your finger's like pushing it. You know how like if you see like a stain or something, the stain usually seems like it's pushed to one side because the pool of water is like empty in the middle, and then it kind of like dries off around the corner, so it leaves that residue around the corner. It's the same idea. So I basically used a series of masks to isolate the effect that I wanted. And then where do I even start with the actual mask? Okay. Here's basically the effect I was trying to get. So to get this, I I added a I'm trying to think of how to explain this. I added a oh, sorry. I moved that over here. All right, so see, this is an anchor point right here. This fill layer is an anchor point, which links to the buildup of. So these layers are one group. I'll explain it that way. These are one group, right? And the way that I got this group was, see how I named it? This is exclude shell sides. So what this paint layer does is it gets rid of these sides and this. So I did a custom paint where I got rid of these because I wanted to isolate just this top portion because I don't want grease on the sides. I don't want it in the button. I just want it to be around the edges. See how there's that buildup I was talking about? So the idea is I want to custom paint, but I don't want to custom paint everywhere because that's a hassle, right? Trying to custom paint an effect and having the whole, entire thing be your canvas is really hard, and it's gonna be really hard. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to isolate it to this, just this top portion of the button. So what I did was I took all this, so I took this base layer, right? I said, oh, this is that kind of blurring I want. And then I painted on top and it said, okay, but I don't want it on the sides. Does that make sense? And then I wanted to soften the corners. Alan, we were talking about this earlier, how I could blur this, but it would blur across the seam because there's a UV seam here. So what I did was I just custom painted the sides to soften that edge. And then I anchor pointed this because I want to use this layer later. So then I added another paint layer, which this is a divide layer, and it reselected those, and then used another subtract to get just this. I wanted to just get this bottom portion because I wanted to add some little grease buildup from the bottom, but not a lot. And then I took that original one, that previous one, added it back in. So now I have that grease I wanted at the bottom and also just around the corners. So that's that basic idea. Then I added a paint overall mask, and this is basically my main mask, which I'm using to control everything above it and everything in this layer. So what this paint is doing, see this? All right, that's fine, Eric. I'll have to send the recording out so everyone can see it afterwards. But thanks for coming by. So yeah, so this is that overall mask. So basically this is controlling. I'll go back to the main channel so we can kind of get an idea of what's going on. All right. So here's where we are right now. We have this pretty simple looking grease buildup on the top, which is starting to look kind of nice if you look at it from the angle. So I like this, so I said, okay, this is going to be my base mask, right? So now anytime I paint anything on this mask layer, since I added an anchor point above it, it's going to affect everything that I use in that anchor point. So I can actually make a really cool effect and then just paint back over it, and then it'll apply that effect wherever I want. So then what I did was I added a blur slope just to break it up, added a lighten layer with that previous one on top. And then I said, okay, that's my final mask. So this will be my final grease layer, which looks kind of cool. You can see that blur slope basically adds a little bit to those edges. See that? This is with it. It adds that little roughness or disorderliness, whatever. And then this is just multiplying it back in. See that? I use that anchor point. Okay. So now I wanted there to be some height to those, right? The grease, because I want it to build up a little bit. So what I did was I took that. This is the fun part. Basically, I'm making a new layer, and then I'm using that anchor point from that previous mask, and then I can do whatever I want with it. So right here, I wanted to say, oh, I want this this mask to define the height, but I don't want it to be everywhere, right? I could redefine the mask in here, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to create a new layer, keep it fresh, make it easier to work with. So I add a fill layer here, which adds that height, and then I blurred it because it was too rigid. And all this is just like this. See, I can crank it up if I wanted, but okay, so now the next layer of this has I decided when I looked at it, there was hair that builds up in the grease, like in the dense areas, which looks kind of gross. Here's the final result real quick. Yeah, so there's the final result right there. So I decided, okay, well, I wanted to build up hair in this center piece. I want it to like look like it's collecting in the center and then have little strands of hair on the outsides. So, oops, that was bad. Same idea here. What I did was I just grabbed this base fill layer is the mask that I used before, right? So basically what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I have this grease, right? But I want to take that mask, redefine it, and clamp it down so it's just that center part. And I want to build up more grease in that center part than before. And I want to do that on a new layer because then I have more control over the color. I can blend it in better. It looks smoother. It gives me more, abilities. So then I'm taking that exact mask right from here. And then, I don't know what this is. I think this is the same thing. I just color burned. Yeah, a color burn because I thought this was kind of like nice to isolate it. And there's that hair I was talking about. So I'm starting to get some of that hair in. And then I add an anchor point because I want to reuse that. Sorry, my throat's a little sore. And then so what you can do here is you can blur. You can basically add a bunch of layers together, blur them, and then add that layer below it before it was blurred. See that? So this is that before it was blurred, and this is after it was blurred. But it's cool because basically what you get is a smooth transition between the blurred and the non-blurred areas. So right here it's kind of like sharp and looks kind of like weird. Here you blur it, okay, but now you're missing all that detail. Well, here you go screen, you add it back in. So now you have the detail and you have the smoothing around it, which is cool. And then I anchored that. And then I decided this was just me playing around trying to get what I wanted. I wanted to clamp it down a little, so I just did another overlay of that same mask. Sharpened it, painted what I didn't like, painted it to soften it up, and then that's my final hair layer. And then I made an anchor because I wanted to change it so it would be higher up. And then this is that same exact concept as before, where I added the height, too sharp, blurred it, levels to get rid of that edge. See that edge? Recombined with the sharp one right there, and then sharpened it. And then that's the look that I was going for. So now, okay, you might say, okay, cool, but it's really complicated. Well, now that you have this complicated effect, what you can do is say, I want grease in more places, right? So you go back to this one, you say, here's my overall mask. I tried to label it, but I probably could label it better. And now I want to add more grease somewhere, right? So what I do is I paint this, and then anywhere that I paint this, it's going to do all those effects on top of it, and it's going to look really cool. So say I paint it like this. And this is going to be a little slow because this is in 4K and there's like a billion things going on. So I would probably not advise doing that. I'd probably turn off the layers above it and work in 2K or something. Although at the end of a project is when it gets to be a hassle. So I just painted that on. And you'll see in a second what that looks like. See that? And if I wanted to, I could paint like this. Let me undo that. And the weird thing about Painter is, well, I guess it's kind of a cool thing. If you're in a layer and you start painting on it, it'll start to slowly get faster and faster. So like that was slow, but look at now it's gonna be a lot faster because it's like optimized or whatever. I don't know how it works. So now I can just be like, oh, cool. Okay. That was a bad example because this is on the edge of the mask, see? So I need to put it over here. because I specifically isolated it to that area. So now if I paint over here, see it can build up the grease over there. And that nasty hair effect. Cool. Alright. So that's the most complicated part. The rest of it's pretty... I added a hue variation to the hair, which I don't think is very noticeable at all. Yeah, it's very hardly noticeable. Barely. Height anchor. I think I used this. You can see it in here. It'll show you where you referenced it. I use this to sharpen the corners. So right here, these ones get sharp. See that? And I think it's just, I only used it here. I masked it out to be, yeah, I masked it out so it's only there. See, I didn't want it there. It looks weird. And then I decided that when I looked at my controller, there was a little bit of dust inside that built up inside this crack. So I put this layer on here, which is just going to put that dust right there. See that? There's nothing special in this. It's a mask right here. And then I put this anchor point here because I use this later on. And then I sharpened it to get that little blurring effect. And then bright dust specks. There's some really bright specks that appear in these cracks in the very, very, very middle. Very subtle. You probably will never notice it. And that's the end for that grease layer. So I'm going to go grab a glass of water. I'll be back in like 2 minutes, but I just need some water. Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty similar concept. All right. Whew. Okay. So, what did I have here? So this is this was a fun layer. This isn't as much something that I noticed on a controller as much as it is something that I just wanted to add in because I thought it was fun. And I wanted to make this look dirtier. But, okay. Let me see what I did here. Okay, so the whole idea here is that you have, oh my god. So I wanted to add a little bit of grease that builds up around the corners in a weird way. Like there's like this peeling effect that you get on certain materials. It doesn't really happen as much on a controller, but I did notice it a little bit on my controller, like especially around here. So how it works is it kind of like you get that, like, I don't know what you call it, rippling effect around the edges, like this. Yeah, like this. And then you also get like a soft fall off in the middle, and then you get a rippling on the other edge. So I wanted to get that effect. So what I did was let's see. I started with I don't remember what I started with exactly. Oh, okay, yeah. So sign additions are really, really good effect to use right here. sad. You can't see it's on the other screen. It's loading on the other screen. But basically what Sign Addition does is if you go to the mask, it takes that gradient, and wherever it's white, it'll add, and wherever it's black, it'll subtract. So what I did was I said, I wanted this mask, but I wanted to smooth out the corners. So what you do is you use the gradient, the actual mask, as a Sign Addition, and then underneath it you put your texture. See that? So it kind of like, it makes those transitions less, I don't know, unnatural. It's a cool effect. It's only used in, it's not used in a lot of programs, but so I wanted that as my base edges, because I thought that would be like, see, that's kind of like, that's the very beginning of the effect that I'm going for. So then I use a histogram scan, which is a combination of a contrast slider and a position, a levels, I should say. So then I can use that. You can see here how it works in the contrast. So I kept it like this, which is like an in-between. And then I added a custom paint mask to get rid of it in certain areas because I wanted to kind of like isolate it. So here's like the beginning of the effect you're getting, right? This is not what I want. I don't want it to look like this in the center. I want it to kind of build up around the corners and then leave the center a little bit like empty. So I sharpen it. Sharpen's just it's just a good filter to add whenever you need more fidelity. Like, see, without it, with it just adds a little bit more. Sometimes the artifacts are good. Like here, it adds these little artifacts here, but I kind of wanted that. So then, and then here's that blur trick I was talking about. So you take this layer and you blur it, right? You take this layer, you blur it, and then what you do is you get the inverse of that, and then you multiply it back in by using an anchor point. So you take this whole thing, you anchor this whole stack, invert it, blur it, and then you get just the edges. So now you get that effect, but it's only on the edges, which is exactly what I was like looking for. See? And this is just a very simple layer. The reason I'm showing my masks is because I usually work exclusively with a mask until I run into a problem where I can't isolate the color or the roughness or the normal or whatever. Or I need more breakup. So right here I have simple base color, roughness, normal, height. All right. Then on the next layer, I have what is called grease roughness. I don't know why I called it that. Let me see. And what this is doing is, okay, so this is adding some more variation because right now it's too simple. And I wanted it to be rougher in the middle. See that? So what I did here was I took that anchor from that previous mask to reuse it, and then multiplied back on top of it I wanted to reuse that bumpiness of the actual material. So I created an anchor point down on my plastic material where the height bumps were, and then I added an anchor point, or I added this reference to it, and then I multiplied it back in. Oh, hey, what's up? Welcome. So we're kind of deep in it now, but I have everything recorded, so I'll try and slow down a little bit because I also am running out of breath. All right. So I'll talk about this dirt layer, this next layer. So the first thing I did here was I wanted to have this dirt build up around these corners. It's taking a little bit to load. Oh, I've been there. All right, so the first layer is just dirt. Pretty simple. There's a lot of ways to do dirt. Here I was going for like a grainy feel, like a dusty grainy feel. The base color is just a grunge map. So I'm going to start with that. Okay, so, oh, there we go. So here's the base color. It's just a grunge map I used for variation. Nothing special. It's just affecting the color a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'll do this through the mask first because the mask will make more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, so the very first thing I start with, of course, is my mask builder, which gives me the crevices that I want. So I made a mask builder, threw in the textures, some custom textures. I multiplied in the world space normal because I didn't want to. So here's where I multiply that in later. Yeah, here's my basic mask. There's my crevice mask. Nothing special here. I use a custom texture. If you turn off the textures, you can see this is just a basic curvature. And then I throw in my my textures as an overlay, and then get that basic like soft look that I'm going for. So I put that on normal at 50% because I have the underlying mask, which I wanted some like more intense areas. And then I throw in another overlay to get some more detail. This is just layering stuff up to get something that's more complicated looking. Sharpen. See that adds a little bit. And then here's my main paint mask where I wiped away some areas just to get like a more natural feel. There's not much here. Then here I'm taking another mask. Where is this coming from? I'm not really sure where this is coming from. Oh, this is my micro height. So I'm using the height information that is stored in my my bump map that I anchored way below, and I'm putting that in here so that I can multiply that in so that the dust only builds up in the crevices and not on top of the height, because I don't want the dust to sit on top of the plastic. Then I use levels to brighten it up. And then there's that world space map. See that in my reusable mask stack that I used as a multiplier on top, so I can get rid of the dirt on the walls. I don't want the dirt on the walls. So now I have my basic mask built up. Oh, the world space, it is right here. This is my world space mask. Basically, I built it up. Yeah, you can select a color, or if you just throw in world space normal, it'll select. It has a bunch of options. You can go in here. It has front to back, top to bottom, right to left. So top to bottom is what I'm looking for here. You can do right to left. You can see how it works. See, it is right there. And all this blending is just the layers on top of it that I added, affecting it. Yep, it's really useful. Okay, so sorry, it's saving. Okay, so then if I go back to my dirt, now I have that mask built up, which I'm happy with. But I need to make the dirt itself more interesting. It's a little right now it was just like white, so I added in this this clouds or this grunge or whatever, threw it on top. Where's the base layer? So at 80%, added some contrast to it. Or wait, no, I removed some contrast from it. Here we go. There's the base color. Yeah, remove some contrast from it, so it's just you get some dark spots, some light spots. Multiplied that color back in with just a fill layer. That's just a color, and that's just a brown color. Sharpened it because it's way too soft. See how much better that looks. See, so now you're getting like an actual fine kind of dust. And then what I wanted to do was add some more detail in, so I slope blurred as I do, which looks kind of cool. And then added a inverse subtract of itself of the anchor point right there. So then you get that weird build up, and then added my hue variation, which I love so much. All right, Somnus, peace and thanks for stopping in. The hue variation you can barely tell. I don't even know how much it's activate. It's like nothing here. It's pretty much nothing, but I put it on because it makes me feel better. And then, so now we have our basic dust, which is kind of cool. Our basic dirt, I should say. So then what I wanted to do is add on top of that hair, because I realized that there's a lot of like little nasty hair particles that build up too. So this layer is pretty cool looking. So it doesn't look as good when you get close, but it's not supposed to be viewed that close. So from here is the distance I want. So if we go into the hair, all we're doing here is we're taking, actually, I don't think I even reused that mask, did I? Maybe I did. But anyway, what I'm doing here is I took that same idea where I wanted to isolate the crevices with my mask editor, right? So then I just combined them in multiple ways to get like, this is just, there's not a ton of logic behind the blending modes as much as it is me going like this, scroll through to find one that I like. And if you know what the blending modes do, like on a basic level, you can kind of understand which one you're looking for. But a lot of it's just messing around to try and get the, the basic effect you're looking for. And there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. So the paint, I don't know what that's for. I don't know at all. All right, so here's my main paint mask, which I used to remove areas where I didn't want the dirt because it was building up here. I didn't like that. I didn't want hair here. I didn't want hair here. So I just eliminated there. Levels, because I wanted it to be really strong. And then I wanted to multiply back in that same one. And then I sharpened it. Oh, wait, sorry. Here's that mask I was talking about, that hair mask that I built up in my previous layer. So this is a really not complicated mask, but it's really simple. It's just like a lot of layers of the same texture over and over. And I didn't want to have that exact same texture used on multiple layers over and over and over because it would be a headache. So I just made an anchor point for it, which you can see. Where is it? Right here. With when it calculates. Yeah, so here's the hair that I was showing earlier. I just wanted to overlay that texture so I could get that really dense buildup. And then what I did was I used it later on in this mask. So now I have that basic, yeah, here's what I'm looking for right here. And then I use that world space normal again to multiply back in. See that? Because then I can get rid of it on the sides because we don't like that. So now we're starting to get somewhere. Sharpen, because it often makes things look better. I always throw it in just to see what it looks like. If I don't like it, I just get rid of it. So here's the sharpen on. Looks much better. Sharpen off. On. So it looks better. And then I use this paint layer to soften it where I want to do. Because I thought it was too much. So all this is doing is it's just a custom paint. I'll often have multiple paint layers depending on what I'm trying to go for. Like here, this paint controls, like I said, the main areas, and this paint is just softening the intensity. It just helps to label them too. Like this one says soften, this one says main mask. Okay. So now I have my hair and my dirt. And what I wanted to do was add a little bit of dirt back on top of the hair because that'll make it look more, it'll add some more depth. So this is just a copy of this exact layer. All I did was duplicate it. I could have instanced it. I tried to instance it and it gave me some errors, so I was like, I'm lazy. I don't want to deal with this, so I just copied it. So you can see how this works. All it's doing is just add it on top. Yep, see? So it's just another layer on top. And that's all for my filthy dirt. And then I, of course, add a master mask on top of that whole folder so that I can get rid of it easily in certain areas. So like the buttons. Yeah, so that's that layer. We're almost done. The filthy dirt. Oh wait, I already just went over that. Yeah, that's a good question. So when you ask if I start with a full layer, I start with. It depends on what, kind of what you're going for. So I can do. Actually, what I'll do is when I'm done with this, I'll go through and I'll just do a really quick, like, I'll add a layer to this of something and then show you my how I work through it in real time, because going through and looking back at it is kind of hard to explain for certain things. So I can do that. I'll just do like a simple layer. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. All right. So the grime buildup, I don't even know what that is. Oh, it's just like, this is like the most simple layer. It's just like me throwing this on top. There's really nothing here to look at. It's just, I don't even know what's going on in this mask. See, some of these masks end up really like complicated looking when there's really like, you could achieve this effect simpler, but when you're working through it in real, like, you know, you're just kind of like, you're just stacking stuff to get what you're looking for until you get something that looks nice. Okay, so here's that. Basically, well, what I have here is, it looks like, oh yeah, this is just a lot of the same thing. It's just 3 grinds I overlaid until I got like a cool looking effect that I wanted. Threw on top, another layer, levels. So this was kind of like the base that I wanted. And then what I do is I add an anchor point because it saves everything below. This is a core part of my workflow, is using anchor points in masks to snapshot something so that I can reuse it later. The posterize, because then I can get like an outline of it. And then the exclude mask, which gave me this really cool little, see this little outline? If you put it in exclude mode, so what it's doing is it's taking that exact layer below it, and then getting you that cool little thing. And then I use levels to clamp it. And then I don't know what I use this for, probably in the next layer. And then clouds to get like some breakup. Yes, yeah, that's basically what an anchor point does. So an anchor points are amazing. This is just a fill layer that is everything below it. So this layer is just, yeah, it's like it just like snapshots everything. It's like saving everything below it as its own new layer. And you can think of it like a folder in Photoshop too, in a way. It kind of like, yeah, it saves everything as its own little folder. Yep, yeah. So that's that base white grime. And then the build-up, I don't know what that's for. Let me see. It's funny, I only worked on this like 2 days ago and I already forget. Okay, see that's just the edges. I wanted some more build-up on the edges a tiny bit. So I added a mask that is linked from the mask below. Exact same thing. Levels, just to isolate it to those corners. Slope blur for some breakup, just cuz. And then I just used a basic, you know, I just throw in textures and see if it looks good sometimes. And this one I liked, so I was like, yeah, that works. All right. And this layer's thumb smears is literally nothing. It's this portion, which I don't even know if I like. But I threw it in there. So I won't go over that because I don't even know if I like it. Yes, basically, yeah. Create your own fill layer by stacking them and then anchor point it, and then you can use it. So you can basically just create a texture with a bunch of textures piled up on top of each other, and then anchor point it and save it as its own texture in a way, without having to go into Photoshop, layer everything, save it out as a separate file. And it's really powerful because you can go in and like interactively just like throw anchor points wherever you want and just save pieces of your file and then use them later. So the cool thing about that hair layer is when you put it in one area right here, it builds up everywhere that you could think of, which then you can just mask out later. So it built up here and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't even intend that, but I really like the way it looks. Built up here, which is kind of cool, kind of gross. Built up around this corner. Around here, I painted this a little bit because I didn't want it to be too widespread. Painted, or yeah, it is the best kind. All right, so then the next thing is trigger wear. I think, this is let me see what that does. Aha, I know what this is. This is that same thing that is in the Z button. See this little, this kind of thing? From pushing it in and out constantly, you get that striated effect or whatever. It's that same thing that I just put on this layer as a separate one. Yeah. The finger wear. What's that? Oh, okay. Yeah, or I'll go through the trigger wear really quick. There's nothing special here. It's the same idea. This is I wanted to get that effect where, like, you push a button in and out, it gives you that scratchy looking feel, that like the lines or whatever. Oh yeah, so for the lighting, do you mean for the lighting in Painter? I typically, because I work in Aces, the color space, I typically just I import one of my environment maps. I just have a few in here that are in Aces space, but you can use whatever one. I like to, usually what I try to do is switch every once in a while just to make sure that the texture is not like completely off and I'm just viewing it in a certain light and I forgot about that, like I didn't think about it. But if you're checking your base color quite frequently, you probably won't have an issue with it. Because the issue is that the color's off, right? But if you check your base color, it doesn't have any lighting information, so it shouldn't matter too much. Yeah, using the one from your render helps a lot, for sure. Yeah. So here is that thing that I was talking about. I just took the same one, added in twice at different scales to get like multiple layers or whatever. Added in a darken, what is this? Just another layer with the texture. Ambient occlusion to get it just in those corners. Here's my custom mask. Okay, so this is another really cool thing you can do in Painter. So a lot of the times what happens is you try to custom paint something and then you get like a really soft paint or you get like a really predictable result from the paintbrush. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, this is a cool, I'll show you guys this later, but you think this is a cool effect, but then you can't really like blend it in naturally. So what you can do is you create a paint layer and then put stuff on top of it. So what I did was I created this very basic paint layer, very soft, added the levels. Yeah, added the levels. It's going a little slower now. The more layers you add, the slower it goes, obviously. Added a clamp because I didn't want those bright areas. Added another levels, and then added that as an anchor point. So then what I can do now is if I paint in here, it blends naturally. See that? Like I can just do a normal paintbrush, but it gives me that really cool, like, almost like eating away at it. Instead of just being like a soft brush. And this is a soft brush, but it doesn't look like it is, which is really nice. Yeah, it's really good. Really good way of getting things to be more like smooth. So, oh, that's, yeah, see, I didn't even include this in my layer, so I don't think it's appearing. But, and then exclude other objects. there. That's exactly what I was looking for. So then it just appears where I want it, which is right here. And it's recalculating. And then in my roughness, I added a stretch noise because I wanted to add some more level of detail to it. And that's just kind of like, after the thought, I'm like, it could be more detailed. So I'll just, instead of using a base like plain color and whatever, I can just add something else. So the real key here is layers on layers on layers makes it more realistic. It also makes it longer to calculate, which is annoying, but if you're going for something that's really realistic, you want to have like a lot of layers because it'll just add a little bit of detail. And then the final layer, of this shell, I should say, mostly the final layer of the whole thing, is I added some wear where I wanted to, this is probably too extreme, I might cut down on this, but I wanted to go through and have some spots that I could paint in where you press a lot on the controller where it would just wear away at the whole thing as like a final layer. So it's calculating, and I will drink water. There we go. So I don't think this affects the base color, does it? No, it doesn't. I have a 3090, so if it doesn't work on a 3090, then then I don't know what to say. Because you can't use multiple GPUs for Painter. But, well, you can... See, I'm also doing this in 4K with 5 UV shells with way more layers than I should. Like, right now, this has 4... So you can use the new geometry mask to, like, be smart about it. But the problem here is I set this up wrong in the beginning. And then I was too lazy to go back and fix it. So I was like, I'll just work through it. But you can set up the geometry mask so it doesn't calculate every layer every time. So there's that paint, right? So all this is doing is, I wish you could. I don't think there's a way to do that, but that would be a good idea. Because I'm using a lot of anchors, and that doesn't help for sure, but it helps. Like, what I typically do is I go and turn off the layers I'm not working on, and then I don't work in 4K like this all the time. I only work in 4K when I'm trying to get the effect down, and then I can just paint it in wherever I want, and then like at a lower resolution. But if I'm trying to get like the effect down, I want it to look as real as possible, or at least as accurate to the file as possible. And honestly, this doesn't need to be 4K. I could make this 2K, but I wanted to get really detailed with it because it was more of like I don't know. There's a few things here that I could probably make a lot simpler. Yeah, it's a new thing. It just got supported. Okay, so there's that basic paint, right? Added a fill signed edition with smudges, which is, that effect I talked about earlier. Levels. Clamp, so that I can get rid of those super bright areas. I didn't want anything too intense. So what I did was I clamped I clamped it to 0.8 because I didn't want it to be perfectly flat. Like if I remove the clamp, you can see what happens. You can't actually see what happens. Just take my word for it. If you export it, you can tell. But it has if without the clamp, some areas were way too smooth. And then I added that as an anchor, which I used in my greasy layer, which you can see over here better. There's some little jokes I included in here, like this up on the D-pad is really smooth because all you really do with the D-pad is taunt. So I figured that would be a little joke to put in here. You can see it when this turns on. Actually, I think this might be lower resolution or something. I don't know. There it is. So what I did here was I took the mask from below. Wait, where is it? Where's the mask? Okay, yeah, here's the base mask. Blurred it. Multiplied it back in as an inversion so I can get that edge, right? Get the edges. I can't even see it here. It's so like subtle. Let me turn the color up. You can't see it. Oh, it's because I have the levels. There we go. Okay, and it's still too subtle. There we go. That's better to see. Yeah, so that's the... Yeah, so basically what this is doing is it's isolating those edges. Anchor point. This is... I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, basically what I did was I built this up as a mask, and then I used it as a signed addition, because I was... Remember how I mentioned the thing about the... You can use a blur, like a gradient as a signed addition thing, and then put it on top, like here, to clamp in on a texture like that, to smooth out or to break up the edges. So I did that, and then added some breakup with spots, sharpened it, and then this was a manual fix layer where I wanted to get rid of the middle. So now you can see the effect, which I then removed essentially so that no one would see it. Yeah, that's that. And that is the entire controller layer. The plug is simple, nothing too much, same idea. It kind of is insane because no one's going to notice it, but it's there in case someone ever feels like noticing it. The plug, I think, is not worth going over. It's the same idea as everything else. I don't think there's anything unique in here. And plus, with metals, you can't really tell how they look until you export, because metals in real time are like not even close to the final result. This was kind of one of those pieces that I do just because I'm like, I want to see what I can do and not as much what I should do. So I wanted to learn some new things, and I learned some new tricks here. So hopefully it helps. And then the Z button. So the Z button was fun because there's a lot of like little things in here. The way the light hits it was cool. So what I did here is I turned off everything above it. This is what I was talking about with the optimization being kind of crappy on my end. But when you turn like those dirt layers on top, it'll add up later. But the Z button is the same concept as all the other stuff. I start from the beginning. Where is it? Oh, this is just a color change. Yeah, the Z was actually my favorite part too. It's just the little this kind of stuff. So I started with the green plastic, and then I just color changed it later because I didn't feel like recreating this whole layer. This is the same thing I was talking about, that matte finish rough as a base coat. Actually, wait, what's the base? It looks like there's... Oh, the scratches. Okay, let me turn those off. Yeah, so here's the very base of the Z button. Very simple. And then what I did was I said, okay, use that matte finish rough to get a base breakup on the normal. Looks nice. It's the very base is a default plastic. It's just nothing but a color with a roughness of 0.1. That's it. So I like to work from the very, very beginning because it helps me to think things through. But you don't have to. You can definitely use like whatever presets you want. And there are a lot of like really useful presets. You can... What I did to learn a lot of stuff was I would either buy or download like smart materials that I thought were really, really good, and then just break them down and like look through and see what they did. And a lot of the time you can find some cool stuff that way. So yeah, so that's that base normal. This is just a smudge layer added on top. One thing that's really cool to do is take a normal layer and a height layer and a roughness layer and throw random stuff on it and see how it affects the lighting, because you can get like really complex effects because they each affect the light a different way. So like here I have that as the roughness on top of the normal. See how it hits that, and it looks really cool. Yeah, it's public. I I threw it in the. I'll throw it back in though in a better place. And then levels to crank it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And then sharpen, because sharpening makes everything look better. Sometimes. Kind of. My voice is gonna be gone. Oh, and then my hue variation that I love so much. That adds some little cool inconsistencies. So, turnip. Oh yeah. As long as just make sure that they don't share with anyone. But yeah, in general, just keep it to us, I suppose. But that's fine too. As long as you trust your friends. Okay, so then I threw scratches on top of it. These deep scratches right here that affect the roughness and the height. This is like an inverse scratch in a way. It makes it less rough, but I realized a lot of plastics have that. They have like a scratch that makes it smoother, which just sounds weird, but it actually happens if you look closely. Another layer of scratches on top of that, and then I adjusted the entire roughness. I think, did I? I don't know if I did. It doesn't look like anything's happening. Oh, that might be on a different button. Yep, that's on the sides of these buttons. Okay. And then where? That's that edge I was talking about right there. So you can see that effect from the button being pressed in and out over and over. The scratch layer is this one, this circular scratches. Where's this one? Is this the one you're talking about? Oh my god, my voice is gone. Oh, this is a normal map that I downloaded. It's a really cool map I use all the time, which basically is just, if you look at it really intent, like at maximum, it looks like this. It's called circular scratches because if you put it on a metal, I don't think there is a mask for this one. Yeah, there's no mask for this one. It's just a normal layer. It's really hard to tell though. But if I put it on, yeah. Yep. Let me see if I can find it. I loaded all my stuff is loaded as, because I use all the same textures over and over. So I just have it in here. Actually, I might not even have that one in here. No, I don't. Oops. Nope. That's a good question. A very good question. A lot of little adjustments, I'd say. Sometimes that does happen. It really depends. Like, I constantly switch between views. I constantly switch between roughness, normal, height, whatever. Height view, you can't really tell anything at all. Roughness, whatever. Just to make sure that things aren't like a blob, like you said. That's a really good question. Yeah. So I switched to roughness. I switched to base color. I switched, between everything just to make sure that everything's looking right. Yeah. And I guess my answer to that would be trial and error. Because a lot of the times that does happen where you put stuff together and you're like, oh, this looks like a blob. But levels helps, sharpening helps. Like, this kind of looks like a blob without sharpening. Well, wait, no, that's not even the right layer. Oh, this one. So sharpening helps. I don't even know where I was. Was I on here? This one. It doesn't really look like a blob, but it's softer. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so that's the Z button. I think that's mostly the only other thing is probably going to the C stick. So you said, wait, you said, I know you said you used to download normal. Are you masking, painting, or what to change it up a little and not just dragging and dropping it? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so sometimes I'll paint it or mask it if I don't like the way it looks. Here I threw it on as like an overall layer, as a triplanar map because it didn't really, this Z button's too small for it to matter, right? Because for certain things, like that's like a big problem with doing architecture stuff is it's really easy to get like tiling effects or things that look like it's just repeated over and over and over. So what you want to do is, depending on the asset that you're texturing, use your judgment. For this one, I didn't really need to mask it, but a lot of the times I will mask it. And also sometimes you don't need to mask because the layers that you'll add on top of it will cover it up anyway. Like the base plastic looks really repetitive, but when you add all the stuff on top, it doesn't look repetitive anymore. All right, so then I'll go over the joystick really quickly because there's an interesting thing in there. And I like it looks kind of soft and nice. Yeah, it does help. A lot of layers added up. A lot of the texturing, like you said before, layers on layers on layers. That'll help. So the base plastic is nothing at all. It's just a color. I don't know why I have the metal on. I don't even need that for this layer. Yeah, the base plastic is just this. Diffuse variation is this. Color, that's it. Nothing special. The plastic height, this was the main effect that I was going for, was I wanted to have the texture of this look right. Like, not texture, the feel of it look right. So this height layer, what it is I use a base scratches layer. Here I'll go, yeah, in a height view. A base scratches layer, sharpened it right here so I get sharper scratches. Histogram scan, looks ugly now, but then I clamped that. I blur it. Here's that effect I was talking about again, where you blur things and then add the sharp version back in right here. And that gives you a really cool, like, sharp thing with a blur around it. See that? The sharp there and then it blurs out. Painted. I don't know what the paint was for. I don't think I did anything with it. Did I? I don't know. No. See, like, this is the thing you were talking about. It looks terrible here, but it doesn't matter when you're up here. So. Oh yeah, histogram scan is a levels plus a contrast slider. It's just a really, it's a convenient way to do both at the same time. It's pretty cool, and I use it for a lot of stuff. And then mask editor, I don't remember what this is. Curvature maybe? Yeah, this just smooths out the top. So then I have that. And then scratches I added, of course, some more scratches because I like adding scratches to everything. Oh, wait. Let me go back to that plastic height again because there's some important stuff here. So here I wanted the height. So if I turn off everything but the height. Wait, did I do that? Yeah. If I turn off everything but the height, then I get this, which looks fine. But I wanted to also add some dirt in the crevices. But since this is all a mask, I can literally just turn on the color and then it works. So nothing special. And same with roughness. I wanted the crevices to be rougher. Oh wait, that doesn't look. Oh yeah, they are rougher. It just looks weird. I don't know why. And then circular scratches, which you can't even tell again. I don't know why I put that on there. You kind of can. Roughness. This is just an overall levels adjustment because it was too soft, I guess. Not squishy enough. Now it looks squishier this way. Yeah, that's it. And then that's pretty much everything. I mean, there's nothing on the C stick that's different. The B, A, X, Y buttons are the same as the Z button, just a color change, the base color change. C stick is yellow. Yeah, for a lot of crevices, I'll use roughness adjustments like that. It helps a little bit. But for certain things, I won't. It really depends. Like, I don't know if I wanted to use it for the Z button, like, for example, I have the scratch that makes it smoother for the Z button just because that's how it worked for that Z button. Like, if you look at a controller, you'll notice that in certain spots. Yeah, so that is everything for this. And then now I can throw on a really quick demo of just throwing a new layer on just to see what it looks like. Nothing too complicated, or nothing that'll take very long, I should say. And then my aces, this color, this thing just adjusts the color to fit in the aces color space. This layer, see? It looks worse here technically, but it looks better in the final render. It's hard to explain if you don't use aces. See, it looks worse, but it's what you need to do. Okay. So the way I start everything is I will say, let me think. Does anyone have an idea for what I should add? Something like, I don't know. I have no ideas right now. An imprint. Oh, like a I know, right? Hand fingerprint. Oh, you mean I'm trying to think. I could just do a finger smudge or something like that, yeah. Like a I'm trying to think. Ooh, that'd be fun. Let me think. I'm trying to think of something that's not going to be too... Because that would be... That could probably take like an hour or two. The GameStop stick, but that's a good idea. Or a price tag. Finger smudge. I could do like a quick smudge. Yeah, sticker would be fun. The hard part would be getting the edge to look right without taking like an hour. Or maybe not like an hour, but taking a while. Oh, yeah, this project I started about, I don't know exactly, maybe like, I probably spent like 5 days of 4 hours on it, maybe. So probably like 20 hours total is my guess. I'm not really sure, but that is a good question. It's like you said, it's just like once you've done it once, then you kind of just, it gets faster and faster and faster. But okay, so I'll make I could do a sticker. I kind of want to do a sticker. I could do a really quick sticker. Something that's not going to be too complicated, but let's do like Mario sticker. Mario. I want one that has transparency. That's a good one. I'll just save this to my desktop, like every good artist should. Wait, was that a JPEG? Oh no! Wait. Oh wait, wait. Did I get baited? Oh my god, I did. Nice. Wow. Alright. I'm just gonna do it this way. No more tricks. There we go. Please tell me I'm not getting... Okay, there we go. This is a really blurry... it's fine. Yeah, it'll work. Okay, so first thing I want to do is this is going to be a color, right? I'm going to import it from my desktop, wherever it is. And then I'll throw it in as a color. Okay, that looks terrible. I like planar projection for this kind of stuff because you can get a really quick idea of where it is and what's going on. Although I have no idea where I am in this, what axis I'm on. I assume that's good enough. Okay, little Mario. And then I don't want it to tile. Yeah, so if you go to... Ooh, I'm going to go to my tiling. UV wrap none. So now we already have a Mario. So the weird thing about the planar projection is it seems to blend. It's kind of good because then you don't get a back facing. You don't get it on the back face. But it also, like, if you have it like this, see how it blends? So you have to make sure it's in the right spot. So let's make it like angled a little bit. Maybe smaller. I don't know where to put him. Like here, maybe. On top of the GameCube. So we'll name him Mario. And I always throw stuff in folders just so I can keep in my mind what's going on. But the important thing about folders is they're not they're not set to pass through by default, which is really annoying. They should be, because if they're not set to pass through, then it'll mess up everything below it or above it. So you just have to, like, they should just be set to pass through. Pass through just means that it's a normal folder, like in Photoshop. Okay, so the first thing we noticed that is wrong is that we should not see the texture of the GameCube, right? We don't want that. So we're going to go into our properties and say, okay, pass through. It should, okay, so pass through as a folder, essentially what it's doing is it's letting the layer in the stuff in the folder pass through the folder. Does that make sense? Like, if the folder's set on normal and the height is set on like something, then the height messes up everything below it, which is really weird. So if you set it to pass through on everything, basically the folder doesn't exist. It's just a way to organize. But you can use the folder as its own blending mode if you want. I don't usually do that just because it gets confusing, but you can do that if you're smarter than me. And then, okay, so yeah, the first thing I noticed about this Mario sticker is that it affects the height and the normal, which I don't want, so I'm going to turn that off. So I turn on normal. You'd expect it to do something, but it doesn't, because normal is set to detail by default, normal map detail, which is good if you're trying to add something on the normal. Like if you wanted it to say, I don't know, like this, it'll combine it with the stuff below it, but I don't want that. I just want to get rid of the stuff below it. So I'm going to set it to normal. Oh wait, that's bad, because this projection is affecting the whole thing. It's just the color that's this. So I need to add a mask, which also is going to include that the Mario. Honestly, this might be... Oh, so the top left set to normal. Yeah, so this basically, all this does is it controls what channel you're in right here. So all this normal, this pass-through is for the normal channel. This pass-through is for the metallic channel. Now it's for the... So this just controls what channel you're looking at. Changing this doesn't change anything besides viewing your blend modes, which is confusing and annoying, but it's the best way to do it, honestly. I don't know a better way. I couldn't think of a better way. It's just something to keep in mind if you get lost. Like, if you're lost trying to change something and nothing's happening. So the first thing I noticed, like I said, was that there's no mask here, so everything I put on this layer is affecting everything. So I'm going to add a fill layer. Sorry. with that Mario. Uh-oh, where's that Mario? Where'd he go? I swear. Oh, he's not named Mario. Yeah, you can have different blend modes for different channels, which is important because that helps a lot. Okay, so this mask is the wrong UV space because the mask UV space is different than the actual layer UV space, which is annoying, and it drives me crazy all the time. So what you need to do is change this mask to be the same, right? Planar, no wrap, and then we need to match the settings, which is annoying. So I'll just I wish I didn't have to do this. There should be a better way to do this, but there's not yet. And I hate doing this. But I'll just do it real quick. The best way to do this would... there might be a better way. I've always wanted to know because it drives me crazy. Yeah. Typically, what I would do is... I don't... Yeah, the program is complicated, but it's very powerful. But I guess everything complicated or everything powerful is complicated. It's kind of part of the... Oops, I hit tab. Does that look right? I think that's right. The only thing that... Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. So this mask is... It's just a black and white version of that color mask. So now I would say... what do I do here is I would add a fill that is a white. I wonder if I can use this alpha in a way that's clever to mask out. Let me see if there's a different blend mode for this. I don't think that's going to do anything. I'm just messing around trying to see if there's a clever way to do this. Because the quick way is just to go in Photoshop and change it, right? That's what I would do if I were smart. But I could just go like this. Scroll wheel. Nothing's going to do anything, I don't think. But you never know. Because it's based on the transparency. It's not based on the color. And we're looking for something that's based on the transparency. So I'm going to throw this in Photoshop in 1 sec. And then... or for 1 second, and then fix this mask because we don't want this effect. I'm on my other monitor throwing in Photoshop. Sorry, I can't see Discord 1 sec. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm thinking of how this will work. So then I can invert. All right. Easy enough. All right, so now I have my... All right, I'm back. Oh, hey, Wazy. So basically I did, Wazy, I did the whole talk on the whole controller, but I've recorded everything. It's like 2 hours long, but there's a lot of stuff in there. So, and now I'm just doing a quick demo of how I would throw a Mario decal on top of this. So you're just in time for the Mario decal demo. So I edited my mask, so now I'm going to import that again because I had the crappy one. And then I'll throw that on top of my fill layer. Cool. So you won't notice a difference yet because the normal channel was set wrong. So now if we go to our normal channel, set it to normal, It's removing the normal information, and you can't tell because the height's still there. But if you look at it now, see how you can tell there's that difference. You might not be able to tell on the quality of the record or the 720p or whatever. But if I turn on the height, now I want to turn on the height because I want to remove the height information too, so that the sticker has its own height. So I got a height, normal, and then here we are already with something. So right now it's inheriting the roughness of everything, which we could do. What we would want to do is we would want to take this Mario sticker and put it under the dirt. That's one way to do it. We could take this Mario and be like, oh, what are you confused about exactly? About the, removing the height in normal map. Okay. So by default, here's the layer. Where's the height? By default, height maps are set to linear dodge add, which is nice when you're trying to add detail. Like if you wanted to add a layer that says, I don't know, that adds like a texture to it, right? Fibers, this is what I threw in just now. It looks terrible, but you get the idea. Then it adds it on top, and it keeps, see how it keeps that detail below it? If I turn it on normal, what normal does is it just replaces everything below it. Yeah, it's a blend mode. Yeah, exactly. Linear dodge add, what linear dodge add does is it takes all the light parts and then adds them to anything that's darker than it. So there's a really good Substance video on there's a really good, here it is. I'll link this real quick because this is really, really important video. Firefox Gang. Make sure you guys watch this sometime because it'll help immensely. It explains all the blend modes, and it explains them in ways that are like understandable and not just like, you know, too confusing. So watch that and then it'll help. But yeah, linear dodge adds the white parts. And then normal is, so here's the other confusing thing. This is the normal channel, and this is the normal blend mode. Two entirely different things, because normal blend mode just means it's just a flat layer on top of it, right? So normal channel is, you know, the normal information, right? So that's this stuff. So that can be easily confused. But yeah, oh yeah, I would delete this. Okay. So now if we go back to our height and we go to normal, it'll replace it. Does that make sense now? So I might do that for roughness too. But the confusing thing here is the roughness. Oh, I don't have anything in my roughness channel. That's why. What I could do is I could just take this sticker and put it underneath all these dirt layers if I wanted an easy solution. But that's not really the point of this demo, so I will probably not do that. I'm just going to throw a roughness on. And like I said, it takes a little bit to calculate the first time, but then it seems like Substance is pretty smart. Like it'll learn that once you're on this mat, like this folder, it starts to calculate everything really quickly in that folder. So now we have a really basic sticker, right? So, okay, the most important thing, what I'm looking for now, I don't have a reference, so that's going to be important, right? So I want to see peeled off sticker. Okay, this is a complicated effect, but we could probably do something similar to this. It's a really cool effect though. Yeah, that's really cool, but it might be tricky. We could do it though. Yeah, we'll do it. So the first thing we want to do is look at our masks, right? Actually, no, I take that back. The mask's going to be complicated. So what we'll do first is we'll get a very basic. We'll throw in some basic roughness as our sticker because we want to make the sticker a little more interesting. So what I'd probably do is I just start off. I have a bunch of textures. These are all mega scans, and then here's another one that I like. This is a really good pack. I use these all the time. I don't know how much they cost, but these are like amazing. $29. I'll post it anyway. But yeah, you can. These are really nice. So I'm gonna throw one of those in here just to see what I get. Let me try like, I don't want fingerprints. I'll try this one, scratches and smudges. Okay, so then, what I'm gonna do is, yeah, you get a lot from it. I'm gonna add a fill layer for the roughness because I want to add like a few roughness layers just to get a more complicated roughness. I'm gonna set it to triplanar because I don't know why. I like setting things to triplanar because then they don't scale across different objects. They have the same scale relative to the object. Even if the UVs are different sizes, it's nice. I don't know, like this. Let's throw in another fill on roughness only. We'll throw in another scratch layer. And then and then we want, these are going to be some heavy scratches. Okay, cool. So I'm going to set this to linear dodge add because then we can combine the two. I think the bottom layer seems to me a little too dark. I'm going to add a levels, or not too dark, too faded, I should say. Clamp it down. Histograms are really useful. Here you can see that all the information is contained in this tiny little, this area. So if I clamp it like this is like getting me the most like contrast, I guess, out of the texture. But I don't really want that. I kind of want that. I don't know what I want. I kind of want this. Maybe like, I don't know. Maybe like that. The bottom. No, see, I was looking at it with the top layer, so I'll keep it like that just for now. So now I have like some really weird scratches that don't really make sense. I will just keep it for now. Just because this is going to be like our base. There's nothing too complicated going on with this one. One thing I want to do is I'm going to add my favorite effect, the hue variation. So I'm going to add a separate layer. I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm just going to add an anchor point and set the blend mode on base color to pass through. And I'll name this hue controller. So this will make sense in a bit. And now nothing's happening, right? So, but I'm going to use the color here to make my mask. So let's just make a quick mask out of this. Like this maybe. I don't know. Something simple. And then I'll add another layer, and this is the actual layer that's doing something. Oh wait, I didn't need wait, did I need this? I did not need this to be passed through. That was that was a mistake. It doesn't matter because it's off. This one needs to be passed through because it's actually going to be a filter. Okay. Yeah. Hue. This is a custom filter that I downloaded off of Substance Share. It's really useful. It looks crazy right now, but that's because there's no mask. So I'll use this anchor point that I just created, the hue variation one, or hue controller. Reference channel base color. I think there's wait, what's going on? Is it saving? I hope it's saving. Okay. I was like, it's frozen. Okay, good. There we go. Okay, so now I'm referencing the base color of this one, and then this one's too flat for anything to be happening. So what I want to do is I want to add some levels to it. And I needed to move it underneath the anchor so it captures everything below it. Yeah, you can. I'm going to go back and look at this. So this is my controller layer. See, or I call it controller. It's like controlling the effect, I guess. So now I turn this off. There we go. So now you can see that that layer is doing something. And now I'm going to just substitute in different different textures to get an effect that I like. So let's see. To get not an effect I like, but to get a mask that I like. So that mask is okay. I think the levels are a little extreme though. And the hue variation is extreme too, but I can change that. So I can be like that maybe. That's kind of nice. I like that. And then what I can do is I can just go to the intensity and lower it anyway. So I'll make it like that. It looked kind of weird, like he peed his pants, but I might move the texture a little. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now I have a little bit of variation, which is nice. If you go to the material, see how it adds a little bit to it. Cool stuff in his hat. Without it, it's more flat. So I like that. Piece of things. Yeah. So I'll name that hue variation. Otherwise, we'll get lost and have no idea what we're doing. Okay, so now we go back to our Mario sticker. And basically, the height. Okay, so here's something I want to do. I want to add a little bit of height to it because the sticker should have a tiny bit of height so you can tell that it's off the surface a little bit. So if I adjust the height, it should actually just work, right? I'm going to turn this layer off so we don't have to recalculate it when we... So if I turn this layer off, I don't have to recalculate it when I adjust layers below it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to make the height a little bit higher. Or a lot higher. What you can do is turn on tessellation if you want to see what it's actually doing. Or displacement. So you can see actually how high it is, because sometimes it's hard to tell. We don't want it to be too high, just a little bit. Maybe like that much. And then let's turn it back off. Just because it's kind of computation intensive. Oh, tessellation is just dividing the mesh. I should say displacement. Yeah. So turning it off, I don't know, that could be a trippy effect, but so turning it on, see, you can see it raises it. You can see all the little details if you turn it on, like this gets raised up. Obviously it doesn't look right because it's not divided enough. This is too high, like detail, whatever, for it to actually matter. But I just wanted to see how high the sticker was. So yeah. Let's think. So now you can see it's kind of raised off. But what I don't like is I don't like how hard this edge is. It doesn't look right to me. So what I'm going to do is, just for the height, I want to blur the edge a little bit. But I don't want to blur the mask, because if I blur the mask, I'll show you what happens. I feel like this is self-explanatory, but it helps to understand the frustration, right? If I blur the mask, then I blur the base color, right? And I don't want that. I just want to blur the height. See, I don't want that fading. So what I want to do is I'm going to create another layer on top of this, and I'm going to call it height, or what do we call it? Height edge blur. Yeah, I use displacement a lot, but for this material I actually didn't, or for this texture or model, I didn't use displacement in my renders because it was so subtle and I couldn't tell a difference, and I didn't want to deal with it. So I just kept it off. But for most things I will, yeah. And I probably will end up in the final render using it because you can see it at certain angles really well. Shoot, I forgot what I was doing. Oh, height edge blur. Okay, so I'm going to turn everything off of this layer and add a mask, except for the height. Add a mask. I always start with a black mask because then it's easier to select what I want. Add a fill to this, and I want to basically take this mask from the layer below it. I want this mask, right? So I'll add an anchor. And then on a new layer, I want to use this exact same Mario mask for the height. So now if I go to this, I can see, oh, look, it's doing that. But what I want to do on this layer is blur it a little bit. But I didn't want the blur to affect the mask below. So I can just do it on this layer instead. So what I'm going to do is actually turn off the height on this base layer. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I don't want to turn it off. I'm just going to add them together to see what it looks like. Okay, so then, all right, there's no height on right now. Okay, yeah, there we go. So say I turn it up a lot like that. This is just for an example. Yeah, basically I manually separated them, and now I can adjust this mask, and if I adjust the mask below it, it'll automatically update. So like later on we're going to look at, this is way too blurry, but you get the idea. I want this to be a really subtle effect, but without it, it looks too hard to me, like this harsh edge to me. So I'm going to turn on displacement again because I can't really tell. It's so hard to tell what's going on without it. Ooh. All right, now he's big. Yeah, this is way too high up. So make it really subtle. Honestly, it might even be way too... This effect might not be what I'm going for. Or might not be what I want. But for now, I'm going to keep it because it's for demonstration purposes, I guess. I'll put it at like a tiny bit. So now you can barely tell a difference, but it's there. So now that edge looks a little less... maybe you can't even tell. Kind of less harsh. Anyway, so now let's go into the actual masking, because that's the fun part. So this is going to be tricky. So let me think. The first thing I notice is that it has a really harsh edge, and then it has another area of softer, kind of half torn paper, and then it has like a fully untorn area. Well, this is actually pretty torn, but for the most part, that's kind of like it's like a 3-tiered structure, I'd say. Like 3-tiered little mask, I'd say. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a paint layer on the bottom to control this overall shape, because I want this shape to be pretty deliberate. I don't want it to be too random. So let me think. I'm going to do this underneath this anchor point because I want everything above it to be calculated in that edge blur. So I'm going to create a paint. And then I'm just going to do something really simple because I'm not really good at painting, and I get away with not being good at painting by throwing layers on top of the paint layers. And I'll show you how to do that because it helps a lot. It's a struggle. Pretty much everything I ever do is trying to compensate for my inability to paint. So I'm trying to get that little shape, that kind of like rough shape. So I'm just gonna, wrong one. So I'm just gonna throw in like a rough, I don't know, something rough for now. Maybe just on this side and a little on this side. And this might be, I probably will need to go back in and make a softer layer on top of this. So this will be the first layer, like the sharp edges. I'm gonna add a second paint mask. I'm gonna set this to multiply, so that I can undo it if I want. Because if you don't set it to multiply, if I paint it, then I can't undo it like that. If I set it to multiply, I can undo it, which is nice, just by hitting X. If I hit X, I change from black to white, by the way. Why is that? Because if I set it to normal, here's what my mask looks like, right? And then if I set it to multiply, all it's doing is it's taking the black areas and using that to multiply on top. So the white areas don't affect it at all. So it's a nice way to like get away with that. All right, so I'm going to go to my brush settings. I'm going to set my opacity to like 50 maybe. Now, this is a complicated effect I've never done before, so this will be fun to try. 50. That looks right. So I'm trying to like, maybe that's what I don't know. That might be what I want. So here's a thing that I noticed. If I click twice, it increased the opacity. So I'm going to undo that. Keep my stroke opacity on 100 and then change my blend opacity to 50. That way, no matter what, it's maximum 50. So that's kind of what I was going for. So let me just do like that. And then I could do this with like an actual procedural effect, but I have no idea how to do that without messing around for hours. Yeah, I could use sharpen for this. That would help a lot. I'm going to throw that on top just to see how it looks. And sharpen always starts off. Oh yeah, that looks really good. Good call there. Yep. And then so I noticed that it's already too. It's too. The texture's not right, but that's just the starting mask. So for now, we'll keep it off and keep it on the top layer. So we have that middle layer, and we have the middle. We have the base. We have all that. So now we have the correct. What's it called? Mask starting point. I don't know what to say. So now we need to actually figure out how to get that effect that we're looking for. So what we probably want to do is take a layer, like a grunge, some kind of grunge, overlay it on top. I hope you do. I need to get better. I always get better. Let me see what's a good one. I'm looking for like a fibery kind of effect. This is kind of a tricky, like, can't really tell what. I think it's like a cloudy effect, maybe. All right, thanks for stopping by. I'll definitely check in when it's done. Maybe clouds. These are. Oh, this is just too big. So I'll make the scale smaller. And then go. I'm just gonna mess around and see. What looks like this effect we're going for. Okay. Overlay always gives us something. That's usually how it works. I don't like how small and broken up this is, so I'm going to add some contrast maybe. Might be a little too intense. I like that. I kind of like that, but see, I think we need to blend it in better. We're going to need to blend it in better with the actual with the other layers. So I'm going to actually rearrange this a little bit. I want this. Okay, let's see where we are. Okay, this is good. We want this. I'm going to add an anchor point. And then I'm going to add, let me think. I need an anchor point for just this white layer. This is when it gets complicated. I'm going to add an anchor point for this white layer because I want to save I want to save this mask and then reuse it. Let me think here. Anchor points get really confusing really fast when you have a bunch of them. I'm trying to think of the best layer stack to do this. Okay, what I could do, which actually would be a lot easier than messing around with that, is change the opacity of this. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that's way easier. Do that maybe. And then I can always add a levels at the top of it. Ooh, that's going to be bad. So this is why I always... All right. Let's see. Okay, so we want... Okay, so we have the sharp edge, which we like. It's not sharp enough right now. Or I shouldn't say that. I should say it's not a proper sharp edge because the overlay adds some weird effect to it. So let me add a level. Let me see if I can mess around with that. I don't think that's going to do what we want. We just don't want that edge to be lost because we're kind of losing it now. Let me think of a... I'm going to add an anchor here. Go back in. And drop it back in. And then mess around with the blending modes here. See if I can get that edge back in there in any way. That's kind of nice, that edge, but I don't like what it's doing to this white area. It's tricky. Perhaps that is cool but weird. Sometimes I'll just scroll through and see like, oh, that's a cool effect. I'm going to save that for later. And then I'll add an anchor and then just use it later. But I don't like what that's doing. Maybe what I could do is I could add this sharpen below it. And then that might help. That helps a little. See that? So what I'll probably do here is I'm gonna edit this mask to be more defined, so I can get a better result when I add the blend mode on top. So what I probably want to do with this mask then is, let's see. I'll add a fill on top of this. And I just want to affect the edges. So what I can do actually is, I lost my mouse. I'm going to do the little trick that I do all the time and add a, actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add a levels. Add a levels, crank it up to be as much contrast as I can. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this with a histogram scan, which is a way better filter for that kind of thing. If you get really like, if the little knobs get way too close together, histogram scan is just better. Like this. Look at this. This is perfect. Beautiful. Okay, so now I don't want this to be our final mask, though. I just want to use this layer, so I'm going to add an anchor point below it so it's unedited, and then add a fill above it with that same anchor point with the histogram scan. So now it's not doing anything. I'm just using it. So now what I can do is take this anchor point, or I'm going to make another anchor point after the histogram scan. I'll call this one, and this one is going to be just for labeling purposes. And then what I can do is then take this, or wait, no, that's not right. What did I just add? Did I just add this one? I think I just added that one. Yeah, so I want to take this one, take the histogram scan, and then use that, multiply it. And now, oh wait, that's wrong. I want this to be on top of this. But I want to turn off the histogram scan. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Okay, yeah. This is, okay, wait. I'm thinking. I hope you guys are keeping up. I'm kind of scatterbrained here. Okay, yeah, so now here's what I have. And then the histogram scan, that's kind of what I'm looking for, but I want this to be a normal. Oh, wait, no, that's what I was going for, yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. So now I can go like this and adjust the edge of the map like that. Mask. Which is kind of cool. All right. Now, one thing I did notice is that this edge is a little rugged. It's kind of nice, but it's a little rugged. So here's something I noticed, that, see how there's like this sharp edge here, but then there's also like a secondary edge that kind of goes along with it that has like a lighter tone to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and mimic that. I'm going to add a slope blur, which should blur this initial rough edge. Slope blur, or blur slope. I was called slope blur. Intensity divider because I want it to be less intense. And it'll give me a really good result, I hope. Yeah, but I still want to keep that initial sharpness. So I'm going to take that. Yeah, there's a lot of filters, and they're all very useful, but they also get overwhelming very fast. Sometimes I might just create a new layer on top of this if I get overwhelmed trying to figure out what the hell is going on, which I'm getting close to. I'm going to turn this off for now because I want this layer and I want the histogram scan. So I'm going to put this above the histogram scan. Yeah, because then what I can do is I can take... Okay, I'm multiplying that back in. I'm blurring... Let me think. Does that look right? I'm trying to figure out what looks better. Let me try to sharpen on top of all this. No. Below that. There we go. That's a little better. Make it a little sharper. And then blur slope above because I want it to affect this layer too. A little intense for my liking. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so now we have something. This is what I mean when I say this effect is kind of complicated. So we have a decent base going on. But what we need to do now is, the regions are good, kind of good. The edge is not as good. There's this like really faded area we don't have going on. Like we don't have this like really nice faded area. So what I can do is there's a filter I downloaded called Posterize, because this is the exact effect I'm going for. Posterize, which might help us. Let's try that. It's not really what I was going for. I was hoping, I guess it makes sense because this cloud is wrong. This cloud is going to mess it up. So I'm going to throw the Posterize on. Honestly, the Posterize isn't going to do anything because I already have it posterized. Kind of. Yeah, that's kind of dumb of me. Well, no, it actually might help. Let's try it. It's kind of helping a little bit. Maybe. Yeah, a little. Problem is you can't change the intensity, I don't think. Oh, wait, you can. Never mind. I can just change the levels. That's kind of cool. That's kind of what we're looking for. See that? It has that, that secondary level. But it's not strong enough. So I think what I need to do is adjust my paint mask. This is my initial paint mask, right? Yeah. If I paint on it, you can see what's going on. Okay. So if I want to add, the in-betweens. What I want to do is add another paint that's like, this is going to be a in-between. I think this is going to be, no, that was wrong, because what this is doing is, oh my God. Okay, that's not going to work. I don't want to have too many levels because then it'll get wonky. What I might just do is, I think this isn't going to be deep. It might be good. I think what I need is to posterize the black and white as well. Because this black and white spots are good, but they're not sharp enough. So I'm going to try that. But then it's gonna get a little ugly for a second. So I need to fix that. Nah, it's not gonna work. Too much contrast. Maybe like that. That's kind of good. But then we still have these extreme. I don't want these extreme areas like this, because there's no area in there that's like perfectly black, right? It's all kind of soft. So I'm gonna add a clamp to the very top. Clamp. And then I'm going to clamp the min. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to clamp the min because then it's going to affect the whole mask. So, well, okay, what I can do is I can clamp them in here and then add an anchor point from a previous version of the mask to multiply back on top. So I'm going to add, I don't know if it's going to work, though, because I don't know if there's anything I can, that's really going to work. Yeah, pushing it, when you just start to like lose your sanity trying to figure out exactly how to do something is when you're like, okay, this is getting to the point where it should be. But it can get pretty intense. Let's see. So I'm kind of happy with that clamp, but I don't like how it's messing up the rest of the mask, because that's not good, obviously. But I need it to work, so now I have to figure out how. So what we could do with that clamp, I don't know if that's actually what I want to do. Let me see. I feel like we're losing that detail if we clamp it. Yeah, we're losing that detail. So what I'm going to do is instead, I'm just going to do a levels, which might help. Maybe. I think we don't have anything in here is the problem. So we need to lower the opacity of this. See that? Because this is a pure black right here. So any levels we add is not going to help because we're going to still have a pure black. So what we need to do is lower the opacity of the overlay slightly so we can get some gray in there. Then we can use the levels in the way we want. Now we can get, okay, so now we can get a better effect. That's kind of what we're looking for. Also, we can go into our black and white. If we really wanted to, we can go into here and then kind of make an anchor point and change the color of this, but I don't want to do that. That'll be too complicated. So for now, let's just go with this. Let's switch over real quick just to see what we're doing, because I haven't looked at this in a long time, so I don't want to be going the wrong path when I have no idea what it's going to look like. Okay, so we kind of have something going on. It's not really working the way we want. And the reasoning is that we're getting that blending with the underlying material, which we don't want. Also, we don't have... we need something underneath it, right? This is a multi-layered texture. This is not a simple, like... there's a sticker on top. So what we have now is the sticker. Yeah, the sticky part. Yeah, exactly. So the sticky part should be underneath this, right? We don't want the Mario color to be blending straight into the controller. You're right. So what we need to do is actually take this sticky part and move it to a new layer. So we're going to take the Mario himself, get rid of him. And now this is more so what we're going for, right? So what we do now is I'm noticing that the normal's gone on this bottom part, even where it's transparent. See how you can't see the bumpiness of the surface underneath, but here you can see the bumpiness, and we don't want that. So what we should do is find a way to get rid of that bumpiness underneath. That's going to be a little tricky at first glance, because what we have is a layer that we can... No, I was wrong. That's not going to be tricky. That's going to be easy. What we do is we just put a layer on top, right? I was thinking we would have to put a layer in between, but I don't think we actually need to. Let me see if it'll work. Normal, or whatever. Normal adjustment. I'll just call it that for now. And then I'll add... I'll put it on height and normal, because I think it's affecting both. I'm gonna set the normal to normal. Hey, thanks, Commander. Thanks for stopping in too. And I'm going to set that to normal. Okay, so here's what we're looking for, right? But we don't want it to be on the whole thing, so we're going to add a mask. And we want to take our mask from this previous layer. Let's see which one we're looking for, because I don't remember which one it is at all. So this one's not going to be right because it's not strong enough. But what we can do is take this mask and maybe if we do a levels adjustment to this one, we might actually... Or a histogram scan, sorry. We might actually be able to get that effect we're looking for. So let's do Mario mask. And then I labeled these poorly because they're all the same name. So Mario mask, okay. So you can already tell a difference, right? A little bit of a difference, but we want it to be more intense. We want this also to be selected. So what we do is add a histogram scan. Hey, there we go. That's kind of what we're going for. I mean, the edges are a little weird, but actually the edges might be perfect. And there we go. So that's better. So now here's the fun part. We get that little peeling effect on the edge, right? So let's throw that in there. Why not? So what we can do is take this, add a... Let me think. Let's add a blur. Blur. A tiny bit of blur. So what this will do is we're going to take this as an anchor before the blur, right? We want this crisp edge. Then we blur it. Then we're going to put a fill on top. This is that trick that I use all the time that I was talking about. And then take our unblurred version, right? So we have an unblurred version, and then if we get rid of it, we have a blurred version. And then we can take this and do a subtract. And then we get this cool edge. But we don't want it to be like on the outside. It does look cool, but it's not what we're going for, right? We want it to be on the inside. So subtract isn't going to work. We need to mess around with different options. Let's see. It's saving. One sec. Okay. Is that what I want? Yes. No. Maybe. Inverse subtract. There we go. No, I was wrong again. We want... Let's see. Oh, I know what I'm talking... Okay, I know what I'm thinking of. That's not the effect we want, but that's the effect I'm thinking of. Okay, so... That's actually kind of what I was thinking of, but not exactly. No. Okay, I know what I'm thinking of. We need to do this on a new layer because we're getting, we're messing with the actual smoothness of the mask. Does that make sense? We're messing with the the crisp edges that we're trying to make with the height and the normal. So we need to actually make, so we need to make a new, we'll call this edge peel, and we'll just make it a height for now. Actually, do I want to make it? Yeah, I'll just make this a height because the normal's not going to work the way that we want it to. So we'll add another black mask, add a fill, and add an anchor to our this one, right? Is it this one? Yeah, this one. Normal adjustment mask. Now I have too many anchors, I can't find them. So now I look at this mask. Okay, it's the same as the one before. So now what I want to do is blur this one. And then re-add it back in. Let's see what looks good. I must have messed something up. Did I mess something up? Oh, wait. The anchor's supposed to be before the blur. There we go. Okay, so now if I change the height of this one, let's make the height go way up just for testing purposes. And now we can mess with our blend modes to see what the effect that I'm looking for is, because I don't feel like figuring it out with my brain. Oops. Okay, no. 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 I might need to invert it, actually. I think I'm trying to invert it. Let me first check it again. So I want the edges to be peeled up, but nothing else. So actually, I think what I have to do is invert I have to, like, I'm thinking. Let me think. So I want this, right? But I want it to be inverted. So I want the middle to be dark. So invert. So that's good, but then I need to get rid of the outside. So what I need to do is take this anchor, the previous anchor point, and multiply it back on, if that makes any sense. Multiply, maybe? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Now that's what I'm looking for. So now you can see just the edges are peeling up a little bit. And it might be a little strong. Yeah, and then okay, now it's cool, but the problem here is that it's way too regular, right? This edge peeling, it looks cool, but it's like, it's too, I don't know, it looks too uniform, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a slope blur on top, because that makes everything look better usually. I'm going to make it pretty intense. Yeah, not a variation. Maybe like that? I don't know. Now that's kind of, let me see. It's getting a little better there. Let's turn the height up so we can see. Honestly, let's turn on displacement. Or tessellation or whatever. Okay, kind of. It's getting better. That's kind of what I'm looking for, but I don't like the tessellation or the displacement. I always forget where it is. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I think it's getting to the point that I wanted, but I think I don't like this, the way it's I don't like the way it's blurring, so I'm going to change the actual blur slope. Has a lot of settings, source parameters, source tiling. There we go. So I'm going to make it tile a lot and then blur less. Maybe. So that's what I'm looking for. There we go. So that's kind of cool. Where am I? Yeah, there we go. So now we have a really cool, it's a little extreme. I think we need to turn it down a little. It doesn't look as good far away. It looks cool though, but it doesn't look as, like, that edge is not what I want, right? It gets complicated, but the steps, if you walk, hopefully walking through it helps a little bit. The slope variation is doing that. Yeah, the slope blur gives you, it gives you this, like that. effect. It's hard to tell when it's so small. Here, I'll show you at a bigger, smaller scale. It blurs it like that. It gives you some really cool breakup. It's good for like edge damage and all that stuff. Did I mess it up? Oops. Wait. There we go. Okay. Sharpening. Oh, yeah. Let's throw a sharpen on here. See if we can get it to look even better. Good point. Yeah, sharpen everything. Ooh, okay. There we go. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so sharpening helps a lot for this kind of thing too, because like we wanted those like that harsh edge. So now what we can do is say, okay, this looks pretty cool. We want that effect everywhere, right? We don't want it to just be here. So what we can do is go back into our let's make another layer actually. I could do this on a layer below it, but it's going to get too complicated if I do, and I don't want to mess with the layers below right now. So what I'll do is I'll create another layer, a height layer, and we're gonna take that. We're gonna do that exact same thing, but we want to do it for these middle portions, right? Because we want that height to also mimic this height right here. So let's go here. Oh yeah, hue variation. Let's go here. Let's do. Let me think. We want, oh wait, that's the wrong thing. Okay, we want a mask, and we want to use that same mask. What's it called? I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was, see, this is why we should label things, but I'm lazy right now. Ah, we want this mask. Yes, yeah, because this is going to be a beautiful mask for our height. It's going to give us exactly what we want. Because the cool thing about this is the height on here is directly corresponding to how thick the paper is, which directly corresponds to how intense the color is, right? Because right here is where it's the most intense, and also right here is where it's the thickest. So the height is going to be perfectly corresponding to the masks that were used for the color, which is like super nice. It's just, it works out perfectly for us. So I'm going to throw in, what was this called? Mario mask? Aptly named. Yeah, perfectly named. And then Mario mask. No, that's the wrong Mario mask. There's two of them. This is what I was saying. I'm stupid. There we go. Okay, so then this is going to be called height overall. Yeah, the sharpen helped a ton. I shouldn't even call it height edge blur. Oh, that edge blur. Yeah, that's. I think we might turn that off in the end because I don't think it looks better. Well, we'll see. Let me see. Yeah, it actually looks worse. I'm going to keep that off for now. Height overall. Okay, so anyways. So now we have this mask again as our old friend. And we want to use this to control our height. So, ta-da. Easy. But it's not sharp enough. So we throw in the old sharpen. As usual. And now it is not, now it's too sharp. And now we have a really intense, a little too gritty, not soft enough. So now we have to fix that. But it's looking a lot better. The peel, yeah, the peel is cool. Let's actually throw the Mario on top just for fun, just so we can get like some happiness after fighting through this struggle. Didn't I just get rid of the Mario? I did, didn't I? I'm wondering why. Why did I do that? Oh, because I wanted the white color, right? Okay. So now I need another layer with the Mario. Height edge blur. What is that? Oh, that's the one I turned off. Mario sticker. Oh, what was it called? S something? S. What did I call it? I think I just imported it with whatever it was named, right? There we go. Oh no, now, okay. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to duplicate it and then get rid of the mask. Because I did not want to fix the stupid projection settings again. Color. Oh, Mario. But I don't want this mask. Wait, do I want the mask? Let me think. I'm trying to think. No, wait, that's not right. Oh, okay. I want... What parts of the mask do I want? Let me think. No, I think I want the... Yeah, he got destroyed. Poor Mario. I think I want them... I need to adjust this mask for this exact use case. Because... Here, I'm just going to remove the mask. And then add a... I'll just add an anchor as usual. Because the reason anchor points are useful is not just because they're quick. It's because you can... Or not because they're... Yeah, because you can edit stuff underneath an anchor point. Ooh, there we go. That's what we're getting closer. What am I trying to say? I think this is tricky because we don't have an actual above sticker. Let me see something real quick. The reason that I'm checking this is because, yeah, here's what I was thinking right now. We don't have enough reference because there's another layer. See that? So we have the white layer, but the sticker itself should peel. So this will be an easy fix, though. This is a really easy fix. We're just going to take the... We're going to take the anchor from that previous mask, the Mario mask. I think it's this one. Yeah, and then we're going to add a levels, maybe. No, let's add a histogram scan. Histogram scan will be nice because then we can change the exact... We want the contrast up, but we want the position like that. Something like that. But now the edge looks weird. I'm wondering why. Let's think. Oh, it's because the height of this is wrong, I think. Right? I can't see the height. I can't see the normal because there's no normal. Okay. Yeah. I agree with that. The you're right. The edge peel. Is it the edge peel? What is it called? This one should be rough, and it's not rough at all. You're right. It's like smooth. Is it this one? I don't remember. No. Isn't it? I thought it was this one, right? What's going on here? Oh, I have a levels. Wait, is that right? No. Okay, so what I did was oh, I'm on the wrong channel. Aha. The usual culprit. And then this, yeah, so this is overriding anything that okay, so see, this is on normal. I want it to go to linear dodge. Also, I just somehow just messed up my painter and my thing is over in the wrong corner. There we go. That's what we want. Wait, is that what we want? Yes. No. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure why the roughness is doing that, but I think it's actually what we're looking for. Oh, it's because it's using the mask. Yeah, see, it's using the mask below, which is the tricky part. So we might throw that roughness on the normal adjustment layer because we want everything on top of that to be rough. So let's try putting a roughness on here. And that'll take a little bit to compute. Yeah, okay, so... But I don't want to override anything below it, so I'm going to change this roughness blend mode to... Try over... Do I want to do overlay? That might be kind of nice. Yeah, something like that. And that's looking a little better. Something looks off now, though. I don't know exactly what. I feel like it's... We lost something. We lost... I think that... The sharpening, something did... Yeah, there we go. That's the problem. I don't like that. I think we need to fix that for sure. The sharpening might have been what did it. No. Because we want that effect, but we don't... It doesn't look right the way it is. It's almost like... Yeah, yeah. It should be more flat, and I also think there should be a little bit of. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. This should guide the height, but it also needs to have like an actual texture to it. It's just kind of like it's nothing special right now. So I think I have some fiber. Let me see if I have any fiber. Yeah, fibers. I don't think that's the same kind of fiber, but it might work. No, it's not the same kind of fiber at all. But it actually might work. We'll see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sharpen. Okay, yeah. It should be more concentrated towards the edges too, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. So like something like this. No, that's not right. See, the other tricky part is here we have. This is a really high resolution sticker we're trying to make, and on a lower resolution, like we're previewing it. This is what I mean when I say like 4K sounds ridiculous, but sometimes you're like, damn, I wish I could just preview an 8K. Like I can't see enough. It does look like it's starting to work, but what did I just do? I think I messed something up. Oh, I was on here. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I don't know if the problem here is the texture or the mask, which is kind of another tricky thing that we can run into. Yeah, I have both. I can link you my Twitter, and my ArtStation is really it's not old. It's just I haven't updated it in like a little bit. But yeah, sure, I'll link it in a second. It's not. I wouldn't say it's old. I just haven't added any projects recently. Recently, I mean like the last like few months. I might just make this really fine, like really small, like that. That might work actually. And then if we sharpen it on top, maybe. Because this is the height, and the height is very susceptible to looking off. Does that make sense? Like it's really easy to get the height map to look wrong. Yeah, it's hard to keep ArtStation updated for sure. I think the problem here is that this is not. I think I'm just gonna set it to normal and then make it the blending, or not normal. The problem is I don't have like. I'm gonna set it to overlay and then set the blend mode to be like the blending to be maybe like that. That might work. Not super happy with that. But this is a tricky effect. So we'll forgive ourselves. I think what I'm gonna do here is simplify this mask because it doesn't work as a height mask too well. It works if you're doing like something super high res, but this isn't high res enough, so we might have to like Actually what we could do is just use this as in the normal. We could mess with the normal for this because this is a kind of something that wouldn't look good in the height. So what we can do is I'm going to keep this. I'm going to crank it down to be like nothing, like that maybe, just so we can have something. And then I'm gonna do this in a normal instead. This is going way longer than I thought, but I'm having fun. So, and plus this is something that I've never tried before, and it's a good exercise. Thank you. I'm glad you guys are hanging out. So the tricky part about normal maps is that I don't ever have any, because like normal map textures, I should say. I don't really have any. I don't really know what kind of texture this would be either. Like, what I probably should do is check my resources folder here. That's what I'll do right now. Thank you. Hopefully, okay, so I'm going to go through and grab, I have a bunch of stuff in here. I might just take a normal map from a 5 or something. This is just my library. This is a connector. This is a great app if you guys ever need anything. That it's great because you can see subfolders, which is amazing. So I can just these are all the previews. So I'm going to take a fiber or something, maybe a cloth, and just use the normal map. I don't know how much cloth I have though. Let's see. I could just look it up, but they don't have Mexicans. They don't label things well. That just kind of sucks. I might just grab this. That could work. Maybe. No, that's perfect. Well, not perfect, but it's good enough. Let me check my reference. It's good enough. Yeah. We'll make it work. Oops. I think I can do this. Yeah, okay. And then I will put this in my normal. Oops. Okay, now it's huge, and it will go small, very small. Yeah, this is kind of nice. I mean, you can't tell because it's on this wrong layer, but we want this to be the Mario. We want it to be. We want it to be on the sticker layer. I don't remember what it's called though, which is bad. Oh. I wish I remember what it was called. Mario mask. Oh, no, it was normal adjustment mask, I think. I think that's the layer I'm looking for. Let me rename this real quick. Fiber normal map. Okay. Normal adjustment mask. Now it'll take a little bit. Haha, that's a little better. Not right, but I just want a basic. I just want the base texture to look better. I'm wondering why the normal is affecting the. It's affecting the transparency almost. Unless I'm hallucinating. Yeah, it really is. I don't know why. That shouldn't. Is there something else going on? Oh, duh. I have everything turned on. Duh. Okay, that's a lot better. A little better, I should say. It's not a lot better. I might make it. I just kind of want that grainy feel. So it's maybe the scale is too big. It's also on. Oh, this is the mask scale. That's wrong. Yeah, we did lose all of it. 20. Maybe. See, now I'm getting in the weeds. So I think the problem here is that this height is raising it above the sticker height. See, and we don't want that obviously. So let me turn on the displacement to make sure that's what's happening. Yeah, so the sticker's below that, and we don't want that obviously. So what we need to do is a few things. The sticker height. The sticker height is. Let's just call it sticker. Should be. Where's our sticker height? Sticker. Oh, I see. So we probably don't even want the sticker. No, we do want it to have height because it needs to go above everything. We'll just make it higher. Easy version. There we go. It's too much. Oh my god. And this all comes down to tiny little details that are gonna frustrate you to no end. But we're getting somewhere. I mean, we've made progress. What I don't like is this edge. See that? That's not right. So what we need to do now is mask that out. But we can do that easily because we can just custom paint it. But we need to find where that is. That's the tricky part, is we need to find where the hell that mask was actually created. So it's not here, it's not here. I think that this overall height is just making it worse. But it needs to be there. Just for like angles like this. So we need to figure out a way to make that work. And I think it's going to be tricky. I don't know. Maybe just sharpen it a lot and then crank it down. Yeah, maybe like that. I don't know. It needs to be there, but it shouldn't be too visible, I think. I also think that this model or this texture just doesn't have enough detail to get that specific effect that we want. It's just not like, we're not going to be able to see it. So, because this is supposed to be viewed at like this distance, right? And at this distance, I think it looks really good so far. It's not perfect, but we're getting somewhere. We just need to fix those mid levels, and then it should be pretty good. I would say, which could be easy with like a levels adjustment. I don't think it's gonna be too hard. All right, back to what I was saying before. We need to fix this edge. So I'm gonna turn off this sticker. The normal. I'm just turning off these layers so that I can calculate the ones below it easier. So what we need to do is we need to fix this edge. So I'm going to add let me see this real quick. Okay, no, we don't want to do that because this is all anchored. So what we want to do is we want to make that slope blur only affect we don't want it to affect everything, right? Trying to find out where it's even happening. I think it's on this layer. Yeah, okay. Yep, here's the problem. Right here. So what we want to do is we want to add let me think. Mario mask. Where's this? Oh, this isn't even used, so I can use this one. This is with the slope blur, and then I'll add, let me think. I want to paint out this effect, which is kind of a tricky thing to do. I could add the effect. I'm going to try something real quick. No, let's see. Paint. No. Try this. I'm going to try and linear dodge or add this back in. I wonder if it'll work at all. But I want to do it, I think. I don't think that's going to work. I think, Now, I've never run into this problem before. I've never tried to, or had to try to do this. So this will be an interesting challenge. I need to just get rid of this effect, but only in this one area. But I'm not sure how to do that because I could add an anchor before it. Let me try that. And then a fill after of the same anchor, the Mario mask. So that's right. And then I could add but I need to mask this. Let me try something. Blend modes. Is there anything that's going to get me what I want? I don't think so. Anchor, yeah. It's always the anchor points that save me and also ruin me. I need to I need like a mask within a mask. So here's what I could do. Yeah, I really just need a mask in a mask, which I think I can make I actually might be able to do this, but I don't know. of a good way to do it. What I could do, and what I'm going to do, because this is easier, is I'm going to create a layer above this. This is the lazy way. And call it mask fix. And then go to here. Wait, is this even going to work? I don't think that's going to work. Well. I never. What I could do is turn off the slope blur, but I need it to go in between. That's the problem. I want it to go in between everything, and it looks like the result we're getting is good, and I don't want to mess with it. Shoot. I think I'll just leave it for now, and then I'll think about it later, because I don't want to mess with it. It could take me forever to figure it out. So for now, I'll just leave it, and then I'll worry about it later. But one thing I did want to do is I wanted to add another soft layer below all of this, but I think I can do that with just levels. With these. Because I don't like the... I think there's too much division here. I think I got that posterized. Maybe I'll do an 8, 6. That doesn't look right. Maybe I'll add another posterize. Nah. I could just adjust this overall then. Or try something like this. Nope, none of that's what I want. I want less contrast, which is kind of hard to do. I think there's a, let me see, contrast, luminosity. Oh yeah, that's not hard to do, never mind. It's just the thing for it. The only problem is, looks like we have a gray. Oh my god, that's annoying. I wonder if we can just do that. Does that even do anything? Kind of works. I don't like that at all. Obviously. I don't know why that's a thing. But what I can do is just crank that down. So then I can add levels on top. This is just like a sloppy way of working, but I don't even know if it's doing anything. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like there might be like a side effect of the filter. It looks like there's... This isn't really doing... I don't know if it's doing anything. I can't tell. I'm trying to reduce contrast, but it seems like it doesn't want me to do that without changing the black point, which I don't want, obviously. Let me think. Yeah, that's what it is. I want to lower... I just want to lower the contrast without... This is one thing I've run into before where it's like, you'd think it'd be easy to lower contrast, but for some reason it's always trickier. One thing I think I can do is I can just pipe it into a gradient, which is another way to do it. And then I can do this. It kind of works. I can just change the color to be bright, or like that. But then it also changes that. It's not too bad. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. a little bit better. Yeah. Yeah, but then it's that stupid that stupid square. It's so subtle. I don't know where it's got to be coming from the mask. Like I don't think I can see it. I mean, I could just like paint that out. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's kind of annoying. Let me see if I can. I think the reason I'm not satisfied is because I don't like that it's showing through the underside of the texture. But I think what I need to do to fix that is actually just create another layer underneath this one and make it like gray. Because this should be gray, not purple. I don't like that it's purple. And I think I'll do that real quick. So I'm going to duplicate that and call this one sticker. It's like when you peel away a sticker, there's like 5 levels, right? There's 5 layers or something. One of them's like, hey, large, what's up? Sticker. What'd you say?
I'm fucking exhausted right now, dude.
I am too, but I'm like powered by adrenaline or something. Let me see. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna make it dark gray, perhaps. I want this to be like a really dark color. Nope, nope, nope. Maybe not. I think what I want to do is, let me try this. Pass through. Nah. Okay, I'm gonna keep it how it was. Oh, I know what's going on. This is the normal and the height are off again. Okay. And I want this height to be 0. And I want to make this layer a little bit. So this is going to be a problem. Well, not a problem, but since I duplicated this, it's not going to actually be affected by anything above it, which is kind of lazy of me. So what I should do is actually take all these anchors above and move them to this layer, but then that's going to be a pain. So I'm not going to do that for now because I'm lazy. Well, I might have to. Shoot, what did I do? Did I root? I feel like I did something wrong. This is when you get like lost in the weeds. Okay, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna undo everything. Control Z. There we go. Alright. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to do this the right way. Duplicate that. This is the new one. Call it mid layer. This one is base layer. And then I'm going to delete everything here. And then add a black mask. And then I'm going to add an anchor point to the base layer mask. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now I can change this one to be, well, yeah, because then I can add adjustments on top of this and it won't affect the ones above it. Alright, so I'm going to change the color of this one to be dark gray, and I also want to change the mask to be more, or to be less transparent, and be more, I don't know, gross. Let's see. So we don't want it to be that obvious, though. And also, I don't want the height on. That's one thing I noticed. So I want the normal on. I don't want this mask to be so transparent. But I don't want, let's see. Yeah, I'll go with that. No. I'm going to make the color be a little... See, what I don't want is I don't want to see the GameCube that much at all. Like the eye. And I think I wouldn't see it if a sticker were on it. But I could be wrong. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I want height on, but I want to remove the height. Okay. And then if I add this on top, let's see what we get. Let's see if that helps at all. So this is without it, and this is with it. So maybe a little, I don't know. Just a little bit. Let's see what the normal does. Okay. And then the edge peel. Height overall. Fibers. Sticker. It's kind of cool. We still get that obnoxious edge. I don't like this, what's going on here. It's way too intense. I'm not sure why it's so intense now. And also this is kind of, we lost a little bit of the level of detail, like the transition here. So I'm going to just go in and do a custom paint on that, which is an easy fix. We can go in the, let's see, we can go in the, if I want to do it in here, we'll go in the mid layer. We can, so the cool thing is we can now adjust these layer per layer, and we can get like, since now we have it as 3 layers, if I wanted to go in and paint that mid layer out, I could do that. So like, I'll put it on multiply. Brushes. I like a wash brush. It's pretty nice for getting like just an idea of where things are. So now if I wanted to, I could paint that mid layer out. But what I want to do is, that's too smooth, right? I don't like that. So I'm going to add a fill on top of that and set it to, let's see something that would look nice. That's a brush. Maybe clouds. I think clouds are going to be good. Like a contrasty cloud. That's not a cloud, that's spots. Wow, what is going on here? Oh my god. What is going on? Here we go. Alright, so then I can change the blend mode to be... So I want the blend mode to interact with the paint layer, nothing else. So I don't want to do any of these things because it's going to mess up anything below it. So I just want to take the paint. So what I want to do then is put the paint underneath this, the clouds underneath it. The paint on normal mode. I don't want to multiply anymore. And then the fill should be on a special blend mode. Let's see what works. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm just trying to make a better transition. See, there we go. That's good. I think that's pretty good. Maybe not exactly right. I feel like there's something going on that I don't like here. Maybe the scale's not high enough. Let's try scale higher. There we go. Probably too detailed. Then we can soften it a little bit because the contrast is pretty high. I mean, it's like maximum. So like that. So now anything I paint on this layer will blend in very nicely. Look at that. Beautiful. So now I can go back here and then try painting, and look at that. We get some super cool blending. It's a little bit crusty, which I don't know. I don't know if that matters. I think I kind of like it, honestly. You can even paint it in here if we want. But then it's kind of look weird with the map, with the sticker on top. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Did I even, what did I just do? Okay, did I trying to remember what I did. Did that, okay, yeah, so it still works. Cool. That height map still bothered me. And this obviously is bothering me a lot. I have no idea why that's doing that. And I still think we could do that same trick on the bottom layer if we wanted. Let's see what's going on here. Why is that sticker doing that? Oh, it's the histogram scan. So the histogram scan is good here, but it's also giving us problems with this part. So what we want to do is probably, oh, you're sleeping an hour, damn. Then yeah, you should probably not get huffy right now. Should probably blur it before we histogram scan it, maybe. That might be bad. We'll see. No, that's not going to work at all. We should just custom paint this out. But that's kind of one of those things that we probably don't want to do, because then if we change anything, we're going to have to repaint it, and that's going to get complicated. So the better way of dealing with it is just to see what we can do here. See if we can mess around with it. Maybe less contrast, like that. I don't know. Cool, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's not really it could work. So now we have a sticker that's working out pretty well. That edge is bothering me, but you know, what can you do right now? So the big thing I think is that transition's wrong. And the color is wrong. Oh, the color's wrong. Slightly wrong. So I think what we'd probably want to do here is check the base color and say this purple is bad. We don't want that purple here at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer on top, because this is the lazy way to do it. Actually, this is probably just the easy way to do it. Turn everything off. Add a mask. The usual. I'll probably grab the Mario. I'm not sure exactly which one I'm looking for. I think I'm looking for the one that doesn't include this. I don't want this top one. So what I want to do, because I don't want to take the sticker color away, I'm going to take an anchor where that sticker mask is. Yeah, sticker mask. There we go. And then take that and multiply it. So here's my mask of here's my mask of this thing, and then I'm going to take my sticker mask. Where is it? Sticker mask, and multiply that on top of that, because what I want to do, I need to invert it first, right? There we go. So now I'm basically just not including that part. So now this layer will affect everything except for this, which is nice. So now I can just add a filter that's like a color filter or whatever. Or I need to set it to pass through first. Add filter. Let's do color correction or balance or saturation. There's too many color filters, and I always forget which one does what. That's not what we want. They're all, I think HSL Perceptive is the best for this kind of thing. All I'm trying to do is get rid of that tiny purple tint here. It's very subtle, and I don't know if it's gonna see that. It's so subtle. Honestly, what I need to do is I need to fix this mask in here, because it's not gonna be, I don't want there we go. But I'm gonna use a histogram scan because it's better for this thing. Cool. Okay, so now I got rid of that color entirely, which now I can look at it again and say, I have no idea if that's right, because this is not purple. This thing is gray, so obviously I'm kind of dumb. That purple might be right. I don't know. It's hard to tell because honestly, I don't think it's right though. I don't think there should be a color underneath because this thing doesn't look like it's picking up much of the color, even though it's black. Although this actually just might be a Photoshop flyer. It is, so that's not useful. Whatever. You get the idea. I could take this a lot further, I feel like, but I don't want to go too far with it. So I'm going to try and finish up before too long. Because this part bothers me, like I don't have that. But I'm going to try I'm going to add another little effect before I call it quits for now on this one. I'm going to do, let's see. Let's call this color correct. I'm going to add, so I like this like stickiness. We kind of added that, but the roughness isn't right. I feel like what we're missing here is that this is like a sticky layer. It's not actually, like right here it looks like it's part of the sticker. It's not. It's like a stickiness. So I'm going to fix that. I think what that is just in the base layer. Stickiness. And I kind of want this roughness to be like really high. I don't know why it was so low. Oh, it's because of the bait. Okay, I see why. Never mind. So let's see. I'm looking at it again, thinking the problem is that this edge is too crispy for being a stickiness layer, whatever. So I can adjust anything on top of this since this mask is just being used up above, and I don't have to worry about it messing stuff up. So I'm going to try adding a slope blur to this, see if I can get anything good out of it. Oh, to import an image, go to File, Import, Resources, and then you can drag and drop images here. What you need to do, though, is it'll ask you what, right here, undefined, you can put it as like texture or whatever. Alpha is used for brushes, so I usually pretty much always am in texture, and then this one, import your resources to current session, will delete it after you're done unless you use it in the project. Project controller, project will always keep it in the project. Shelf will keep it forever. So there you go. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Yep, no problem. Source parameters, tiling. I don't really know if this is what I want. The other thing you can do with slope blur is you can actually use a custom texture. And it's really powerful. But it depends on what you're trying to do. This one doesn't seem like it might. Let me try something else. This is honestly kind of the look we're going for. Although it seems like that kind of look. Maybe a little intense. But I like the concept though. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. I guess it's probably not. Yeah, it doesn't really work the way we wanted it to. This is when we're talking about things getting too blobby. I mean, it's not bad. I think it needs to be like crispier though. Maybe the contrast could go up. Like this is kind of what I'm looking for, is like little speckles on the edges. Maybe not that much though. Let's go with the intensity. Maybe like that. kind of. Oh, my @ is just friendly fire on, I think. It might be an underscore. Let me check. Let me check real quick. Oh, I shouldn't I? I don't know how to do that. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know. I've never done it. Okay, yeah, it's underscore. Okay. I like fought through my throat hurting, and now it just doesn't hurt anymore. My voice hurting, I should say. So that's pretty cool. I actually kind of like what this is doing. I just don't know if it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna. I'm not sure if it's like. And this is when I get into like fudge it territory where I'm just like, I've never tried this before. I've never done this kind of effect before, so just mess around with things that I know how to do and then see if I can get something working. But that's actually most projects, and that's the fun part. Is just be like, you have no idea what's going on, but you gotta get something figured out. So that's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's getting those wipes. The issue here is that there's no layering, but that's because the layering's on the other layers. But I think what I want to do is actually take the color of this, and what I can do is I can take the mask and actually dump it into the color, which will give me a better, a more like, it's kind of like a hack in a way, but I can take the mask from its own layer. Like, see that? This Mario mask, I think I want that one. Is that the right one? See, the problem is I can't even see which one it is. I labeled them so badly. I'm just doing this for shits and giggles, though, so I shouldn't worry about it too much. So what I'm doing here is I want to change this color. Let's see. I want it to be like that. Like, kind of overall multiplier. See how much detail that adds, and that's simple. So, but I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, because this is supposed to be a bottom layer anyway. It's not supposed to be like the detail layer. Yeah, see, that messes stuff up, I think. Wait, no, it doesn't. I'm dumb. I just had it off. I think what I want to do here, yeah, I mean, it adds a little bit, but it also kind of changes the overall look. Maybe an in-between is kind of nice, like that. I think what I need to do is just mask out more areas. Like, the tricky part about this texture is this is transparency, like in real life, right? This is a transparent, like this paper is transparent, so it's kind of like, there's a lot of depth here that it's hard to get, but we're getting there. It's just it's really hard to do on a texture like this. And I think the height might be like just detracting from it too much. It's just too random. It doesn't look like it's intentional, which I don't like. I think that's probably one of the problems. The fiber. Like, I almost think that looks better than this. Not much. But for now, I'm going to call that. I'm going to add a little bit, one extra little effect. Actually, no, I think I added it already. Yeah, I think I added it. What I should probably do if I want to take this further is like, obviously I need to fix that edge somehow. I need to add another layer, like, I wouldn't say, I don't know if a layer is the right word. You know what, actually, let me try that real quick. I think what I can do is maybe just make this base, there needs to be more, like, the transparency is wrong. but the variation is good. Also, this, I think the base color of this Mario is all wrong. Yeah, see, this is white. This is not right. I didn't even look at that yet. You shouldn't have a white, like a pure white like this. It shouldn't be. So the color of a white sticker is probably like 0.7 is my guess. I don't know. 0.8, 0.7. 0.7 is like 0.8 is like snow. 0.7 is like, where is this? Is it just my color? It is. I'm gonna add maybe a levels to my color. Oops. I don't usually use color for levels for color because it's. I'm gonna add a clamp instead. Clamp. Oh, okay. I will be uploading the recording of this, and then it'll explain how to do all that. Because it is a little. It's not a process, but there's a few things to it. So I can definitely link. I can timestamp you to the where that is in the video because this is a really long. This is 4 hours now. So, but I can link that to you to explain it. Yeah, I know it's crazy. It doesn't feel like 4 hours, but my voice is gone, so I totally feel it a little bit. So here's what I was trying to do is clamp the whites because they're too bright. But I don't want to clamp. Actually, I do need to clamp everything. It looks like it should. It feels like it's worse, but it's. I mean, that's how it should be in this lighting. So, I would probably do this in Photoshop because I don't want to get rid of the color of this. But for now, this is fine. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys got to stick around, and I hope it helped. I think that's everything for now. I think what I wanted to do, yeah, I'll just stick with that for now. But yeah, so now we have a sticker. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. And the cool thing is we can move. I think we can just move. No, we'd have to move 2 layers to move it around. But what we can do is we can dump it in a folder, and I think we can move it. Oh, it's already in a folder. Let's turn on our hue variation and everything. Ooh, okay. There's our hue variation. Nice. Here's our Mario. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably keep it on there. I don't know why I shouldn't or why I wouldn't. And I'll probably add some more stuff to it, and I'll show you guys when it's done. If I ever figure out how to get this right. But yeah. All right, I'm done for now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Large. I forgot that your voice was here. I forgot that your voice was on.
Yeah, no reason to leave it off.
True, very true. All right, but I'm done. I'm tired. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna end this recording now. Yeah, no problem.